and welcome back to the show. I'm your nerdy host, Annie.
I'm your co-host, Snake.
Thank you for joining me, and I appreciate you coming back. Whether you're a filthy casual, a hardened pro, or a mobile gamer, you can join us as we rant, rave, and ramble about games that we like, and occasionally games that we don't like. But, as always, we're here to ask the question, what's this game?
Disco Elysium.
This was released by ZA/Alm, or just Zaum, as it's more commonly pronounced online. It came out in 2021, and then the remastered version came out kind of later in that year. So we're talking about that one. We did an episode 23, covering the beginning of Disco Elysium. But at the time, my co-host Snake had only finished kind of up until the climax, not the end of the game, but there's like a climax in the middle of the game that everyone gets to no matter what. It's like if you complete the game, you're gonna experience this event. So that's kind of where we left off that in the last episode. In this episode, I forced Snake to finish the game. That's why we ran a little late today, but totally worth it because he said, "Oh, I'm like right here. I just talked to this guy and I'm doing this thing." I'm like, "Oh, you're like literally like 12, 13 minutes away from the end of the game. Just, I'll sit here and wait. Not a big deal. Just go finish the game real quick and then we can hop on and then you'll have it literally like perfectly fresh in your memory. Kind of like Dylan did whenever we did our Prey episode." So, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you coming back. This is the first part 2 of a game. There's a couple that I have in the episode list that I maybe want to do a part 2 of, but this game was so good. I was like, no. We're gonna come back as soon as we can, as soon as we both had enough time to fully digest the game and, well, maybe not fully digest, but at least complete the game and get the full scope of it, even if we don't complete everything in the game. So, I appreciate you coming back, and how are you this week?
I'm very happy to be back, and this week's going pretty well. Spring's on its way. We jumped an hour ahead this past weekend. And I've been playing all kinds of different games, so I didn't get back to Disco Elysium as often as I should have. I didn't do my homework or my due diligence. So I missed some side quests, but there were other things that and we'll get into it later. This game is much more replayable than even I thought at first glance. Even last episode I mentioned, I think this game can go in a lot of different directions in a very exaggerated way, and some of the things that happened post crescendo climax of the tribunal, which went very poorly for me, by the way. It's worth playing over and over again.
Oh, absolutely. Just like as I've done a little bit of research looking, like I really tried not to look at the wiki one time, do no research before I finished the game, because I really didn't want one single thing to influence me other than the person I was like playing the game with, which is you. So I would tell you about things and, we would have our back and forth. But other than that, I kept it kind of real on the down low. I lost my train of thought there, but there's so much, like, I feel like I haven't seen, even though I felt like I kind of 100% the game without the only quest. Like, I went back and checked my save, and the only quest I didn't do before the end of the game was find out who made the phone call. I did every other quest that came up. I completed every side objective. I wrapped up every loose end except for figuring out who actually placed the phone call. Even in my start of my second playthrough, I found a couple of places that I was like, oh, okay, maybe this could be it. I now know there's only like 2 phones in Martinez, so it was either placed from this phone or this phone. But even then, it still hasn't helped me narrow it down. I mean, it could be anybody. I thought it was Sylvie, but I asked her again, did you make the call? And she said, nope. I said, okay.
Okay. I see, that's the thing. It went very different for me with who made the phone call. Should I reveal to you who I was? It wasn't Sylvie who was the highest suspect that came out in my, I guess, dialogue tree. Maybe pushed it into a different direction of what questions I asked and how I asked them. But uh, I'm gonna say her name wrong, but it was the woman who was with the guy who got shot. Classe? I can't say her name right. But she's upstairs smoking. Yeah, Klassia. She basically admits to making the phone call to me. But other things happen, and it makes me unsure if she really did, even though she said she did. She could be lying. Because she could be lying flat out, just telling me what I want to hear to keep things moving. Also, there's other ways that it can play out than the way it did with me. She left, basically, and I let her go instead of arresting her.
I don't know if that's an option. I haven't looked into like the full like tree of things that can happen in the game. But after the tribunal, Classe leaves. She sees it coming, and she kind of leaves like right before it happens. And Gart is the only one that really knows about it because obviously that's his tenant. And as the whole showdown is going on, he lets us know, oh, she left. It's like, oh yeah, perfect timing, not suspicious, nothing, nice. This is, you would choose now to do that.
There was, I had an
Okay, we are back. It looks like it's running fine now. It looks like my OBS is just overloaded, so we're just gonna pick up from there. So the way it worked out for me is, I grabbed the body and finally got it down from the tree with the help of Jean-Luc, or Measurehead, as he's more commonly known for everyone around him. Measurehead, he went and did me a favor, got the corpse down, however he did that. And then once I finally could do the field autopsy, I did such a thorough job in doing the field autopsy that I was on stream, so I was like visibly grossed out at reading this and hearing. The narrator is so good at describing things, and the game is so well written that the way I envisioned it, because obviously it's not animated, it's just kind of narrated. Harry bends down and he's inspecting the corpse, and then he notices something in the mouth, and then just starts jamming his hand all the way inside of this guy's face, and then just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going until you reach like into the backside of his body, like before busting out the other side of his neck, and then reaching up into his like brain stem, and then like puppeting him slightly until you grab something that's lodged inside of his brain and pull it out, and it's just like, oh hey Kim, there's a bullet in this guy.
Yeah, he goes very deep.
That's so horrifying. God damn, Harry, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why did you do that? Well, because I told you to, and I kept pressing 1, whatever the forward keep going option was. But what the hell is wrong with Kim? What the hell is wrong with you? Why didn't you slap the shit out of me? Why didn't you let me puppet this man and reach inside? I found a lot of evidence. It was worth it. But also, why did I do that?
It mentions, don't you, like before you actually do that action, I think it says, oh, you notice a glint. You're going to, like, it gives you the option, I'm going to push just a little harder. And I do like that. And a lot of times it will yield something nice. But there's been a couple of times where I pushed, not just like for some actions that I'm doing, but trying to get people to say certain things. So, like, the story goes a certain way. It doesn't always work. When you're interrogating somebody, if you push too hard, they'll shut up.
Right. If you push them too hard, and especially if you push them and fail a check, you can get them to like not really soft lock yourself. The developers, from again what I've been reading or whatever, are incredibly good at making sure there's no like actual soft locks. There's a lot of like places where you can get where you're like, I don't know what to do. But
yeah,
it seems like a lot of actual like locks have been written safely out of the game. There's a lot of options to approach a lot of things. And from just like a base standpoint, the case is kind of easy to solve. There's only a couple of steps you actually need to do. Now, how you do those steps is wildly different, but there's only a couple steps you actually need to do. You need to get the body down. You need to send it off. Then you need to find your murderer suspects, find the one suspect that ran away. Once you do that, you get caught up in the tribunal. You either live or, well, you can't technically die because then you get a game over, I guess. But you live through it, and then after that, you go find the real suspect. That's the only things in the game that you really have to do. Everything else is kind of optional.
Right. And that's what kind of makes the game, though, like those detailed options that you can forego. You can just, I think you can get to the end fairly quick within a few days, possibly. But
day 4 or day
it's
5,
not that
I think you can finish the whole game within that instead of the whole week or whatever. Because you need to at least wait until Wednesday to get across the canal, and then after that you have to find Ruby. After you find Ruby, it triggers the tribunal. Mm-hmm. After the tribunal, then you have to go to the island. So those are the only major steps, really. Is Wednesday, Ruby, tribunal, island.
And the way time passes, you could do it that day, as long as that person shows up at a certain time, like of that day. Everything.
Glacier, though. You mentioned she flees, and she is a kind of a big deal in the whole case because she was there, literally right there, the night that the hanged man, the mercenary, was killed. They were hooking up, and the bullet that you find or don't find, and then you have to come to that conclusion, I imagine. You have to put together all the evidence that, maybe he wasn't just hanged, there's some other stuff going on here. But if you find out that he was shot, you put together pretty quickly, okay, so they were sleeping together and he happened to get headshot while they were sleeping together. That's pretty cool, I guess. Somebody must have really good aim. So where could this have been shot from? So that it opens up like a whole second avenue in the murder case, because the Hardy Boys,
you got
the prime
points.
Suspect, and they've kind of, it's all but been proven that they did it. They confessed to it. They have been kind of basically fired by their boss, but put on sabbatical. So all evidence points to the Hardy Boys did it, and the fact that they said we did it, except there's no proof. So there's always this little bit of doubt here, a little bit of doubt there, and if you're able to find the bullet wound in the guy, then you're like, why did they shoot him and then hang him? Okay, so there's, if the Hardy Boys still did this, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. You guys did it. You killed him real good. Why do you shoot him and then hang him?
Yeah, see, and that's you question all of those guys, and none of them really give you any. They give you just enough explanation to make you, okay, it could have been them, but some of this evidence just isn't lining up. And between your different facets of consciousness and Kim, you do add things up, and it's like, well, none of these guys, were holding that type of, because it's a very specific type of bullet you find, or because that's the way it went for me. Yeah, I had the same. He reaches his hand right up the throat and right into the back. Yeah, it's a pretty descriptive scene. That's why the replayability is great, because what happens if you don't find that bullet and you don't really nail it down that it wasn't them? You still, like I mentioned, the tribunal went poor for me. 6 people died, 7 total in game, I think. Which is probably close to the maximum you can get.
I was reading, and the minimum amount is 3. So no matter what, you're going to lose 3 of the Hardy Boys. And I'm like,
okay.
That really sucks, because I get it's like a trade-off. The 3 mercenaries die, the 3 Hardy Boys die. It's like an eye for an eye, blah, blah, blah.
Basically
whatever
a
symbolism
wash,
you want to take. Whatever you want to take away from it. I still don't think the Hardy Boys necessarily deserve to die. Yeah, a lot of them were punks, and some of them were straight up douchebags, but they're just a bunch of company boys that were trying to do what they thought were right and what they were told to do.
Well, yeah, not only that though, I feel like they were confessing to the murder as though they couldn't be touched either. You know, what are you going to do, copper? Yeah, we killed this guy. You're not going to do shit because old boss man's going to keep us out of jail. Even though we're furloughed, he's still going to protect his own. And then, you know, the union thing happens. And after, I'm glad I did get to finish it because there was something that was being set up there by certain other people, and it could have gotten even worse than just the minimum of 3, or, you know, if it's 7 or 8, you know. Somebody was trying to start a war, I think, or at least they think they were.
It seemed like Wild Pines was trying to stir up a full-on kind of rebellion between the scabs, the dock workers, and I really wish I would have gone back for this one particular part or just watched my stream, because there was one key part near the end of the game where I went and talked to Joyce. Joyce is the Wild Pines representative. She's the one that is kind of in charge of the mercenaries. Not really. She doesn't command them. But she's their representative, even though they're not being represented by her. It's complicated. She represents the company, and the company hired the mercenaries, but she isn't tied to the mercenaries, but she's still trying to cover for the company hiring the mercenaries because that's her job.
Right.
So
she's more
she's
PR
trying to barter
than,
sort of
than...
a peace. She's trying to barter sort of peace with Everard. At least that's what it seems. Mostly, she wants information, because the more information she has, the more leverage she can get, and the more she can put pressure on the Everard brothers to kind of break their hold on the union. Because the company wants more control over their union workers, and Everard and his boys kind of have a complete stranglehold on it. So they sent the mercenaries in there, obviously, to shake it up, and I wouldn't even call it serendipity, but like just coincidentally and just so happens to be beneficially, somebody killed this mercenary while he was sort of off duty. They saw the opportunity to kill this mercenary, they killed the mercenary, and this mercenary that got killed and hanged turns out to be the lead mercenary's younger brother. And now it's become not only professional, but it's personal. So, even though this is kind of what Wild Pines wanted, they didn't really even do it. And then, because Everard doesn't want bad blood, but bad publicity, and he doesn't want, he really just kind of wants this contained in-house. So the Hardy Boys take responsibility for the hanging and the murdering, and that's that. Well, now we know who did it. We'll deal with that when we deal with that. It's been handled. While we're currently trying to figure out who actually did this, who actually killed this mercenary. Was it one of you guys, and I need to kill one of you guys to make this right with the Wild Pines people? Like, what? So there's a whole political, like, war going on between these two factions, and a lot of it is not even being fought until one critical moment. It's all being, like, talked about. There's, Joyce is trying to leverage you against Everard in a simple way by saying, hey, just go talk to him and let me know what he said. And kind of vice versa. Right. Everard is like, I want you to tell her because I'm telling you things that I want her to know. And
exactly.
So you're like, okay, I'm being used by both of these people. Who am I supposed to side with? And I could kind of choose to side with neither of you. But going back to what I was saying, I really wish I would have paid more attention, because I got into a conversation with Joyce near the end of the game, and I really wasn't reading it. I was kind of just going through the conversation, and then it got to a point where she kind of resolved whatever the conversation we were having was, and then she left. I'm like, Is that good? Did I just do something bad? Did I just do something good? I don't know what I did. And that is very in character for Harry, but not in character for me playing Harry, because I'm very meticulous about what I've been doing so far, and now I have no clue what I just did. And still to this, I don't know what the consequences of sending her off. Like, did I say, hey, don't let the union resolve their issues and just go home and just enjoy your life? Like, I don't know what ending I got with Joyce. I just know she left. I'm like, okay. Well,
that's what I mean.
Isn't here. The union got what they wanted.
Yeah, that's my fear with like every role playing game, because I know that certain avenues will get cut off based on a choice, and sometimes it is a minor choice that you don't really think. It just sets up a whole dialogue tree later on. And like you said, you can choose to not interact, and I didn't. I didn't want to go back because I knew it. I knew they were trying to play me both. And I understood Everett's point a little better, because it's like, yeah, I'm going to feed her this information. And then when she reacts a certain way, I know she's getting it. I know this is who she trusts. You know what I mean? Like, because you can tell 3 different people the same thing, and then coming from any one of them, it might be disregarded because they're not as trustworthy as Harry was, another cop saying it directly to her. And I never went back to Everett, and I never went back to her. I didn't interact with Everett enough to actually find my gun, which could have probably helped. It was just Kim with his sidearm. And
most of the game,
we were very underprepared.
I think there's only like 1 or 2 checks that it really matters for. Obviously, the big one is having it for the tribunal, and I think there's one other chance where you can use it to kind of intimidate somebody if you have it in your hand. It's like one of those other checks. If you have the tool in your hand, you can use it. Otherwise, well, you might as well not have it because it's not in your hand. You can't use it. So doing my second playthrough, I was trying to get my gun as soon as possible, and it seems like the generally accepted and done quest line for finding your gun is A, finding out that you don't have your gun through whatever means, and then finding out where the gun is. Most commonly, it's found out that you pawned it, and then sooner or later, you're going to talk to Everard, who talks to you and mentions, hey, we're looking for that lost gun of yours. And you're like, shit, okay, people do know I don't have my gun. That's not good. He will give you a mission to unlock a door for somebody, and you can either do it, not do it, or take too long and fail to do it, even if you want to. I think I waited until like Wednesday morning or maybe Thursday morning before I tried to go unlock the door, and by then the guy was already home. In my second playthrough, I did unlock the door, and I went in there, explored it, and then I told Everard, hey, I did your job, expecting him to just trust me immediately because I actually did the job this time. However, I was foolish because Everard is a user, and he knows he can still use me, and he get me to do a couple more missions if he really wanted me to. In my first playthrough, I didn't do the mission, and he said, all right, fine, whatever. Do the second mission for me. Go get 2 signatures. Pretty simple job. Mm-hmm. Just go get 2 signatures on these envelopes. So on my second playthrough, I got the same mission. Go get 2 signatures. Unfortunately, they're across the canal on that little village on the coastline. So I haven't been able to get the signatures. If you do get the signatures, he'll finally tell you who has your gun. It turns out some crazy lady bought it from the pawn shop, and she is like a schizo who believes she is the police. Not a cop, not one specific police officer. She believes she is the police.
Okay.
So she has like a backpack with some police lights and sirens that she winds up, and she just kind of pretends she's the police. She has your gun. She's waving it around. She's a total nut job. Now that she has a firearm, she believes, I'm definitely the police. Of course I'm the police. I have a gun. The police have gun. Yes. So it's a very fun interaction because he'll finally tell you, hey, just go meet this lady around this time. I set up the meeting finally. I got my people to talk to her people. go here and you see what happens, because I can't guarantee she's going to give you the gun. I just told you I accept the meeting.
And I'm sure it plays out a few different ways if you're not too careful. If you're a little too brazen, she might take you for a criminal. That's where I kind of stopped with Everett. He wanted 2 signatures, and I found out why he wanted those 2 signatures. He was basically going to start building and redeveloping an area. We know it currently more like gentrification, where a big company comes through and revitalizes a poorer neighborhood and kind of pushes the riffraff out. And Everett was looking to commission this area for construction, and it's like basically a shanty town. There's like 3 homeless people, an elderly lady, a woman and her kids are hanging out there. That guy was looking at a mural, like, you know, so like that whole area was looking to get under Everett's thumb by faking some signatures on a petition, which there's multiple. You can get actual signatures, you can fake them yourself, and you can mail them out too. So you can really get the ball rolling, and it, depending on how you look at it, you're either helping Martinez, revitalize itself and clearing away some of the old riffraff, or you can look at it like you're displacing people who are already falling through the cracks, and you're just kind of sweeping the mess under the rug, so to speak. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't sweep the mess under the rug.
I totally understand how you could feel that way morally. Once I realized kind of what was going on, I sort of felt the same way. I was like, oh, wait, hold on. You want me to get these people to agree to evict themselves so you can build a YMCA here?
Yes, basically.
That's your goal, is to build a YMCA? And why do you got to do it right here? Why can't you do it like 20 feet up the coast? Why can't you do it where the church is? What? Like, I get your point, but also church too. Why exactly right here? Okay, so, but at that point, I really, like, me as a player, I didn't care enough about the people on the coast, and my version of Harry definitely wouldn't have cared. He was like, the guy said, get signatures, get gun. That's goal. I need my gun, okay, so I'm going to find it.
And what you just said, as we go along this story, because I just got, like you said, I played my ending, and it explains to you in the ending what kind of Harry was, and that was one of the things I was. Kim was the one explaining it. He's very moral and central, but then also I'm a disco cop, which conflicts with like this over-the-top attitude and very self-central, but still trying to have a good moral compass. That is kind of how I am. I'm very contradictory in that way.
I would be so curious to see some of the different endings, because if things go bad in the tribunal, Kim can get badly injured and get sent to the hospital, and then he's not really with you for the rest of the game. And depending on your relationships otherwise, apparently you can get Kuno to travel you for the last 2 days of the game, or you can have nobody. And I imagine it would be a lot harder to build your case for yourself if you have to A, represent yourself, or B, be represented by a child who kind of hates you and thinks that you're a faggot.
Yeah, that came to my attention too, as I was internet surfing one day. I was looking at the voice actors, and I was looking at Kuno's lines, like they're on YouTube, just the lines all in a row, and he has an hour and 20 minutes of dialogue, and I was like, I didn't even get through 20 minutes of dialogue with him. Maybe an hour of dialogue, maybe 45, whatever.
I feel like I talked to him the most, so I know he has a lot of dialogue, but
right, but like you just mentioned, that's what it is, and there was something about a piggyback ride, and I was like, what? Wait, what? You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff that was hidden and so I quit. I stopped right there. I was like, oh, I got to go back and play 4 more times. You know, I'm gonna punch Kuno in the stomach. I'm gonna try to not get my head punched off by Measurehead. You know, all that stuff.
I feel like this is a game I'm going to try to play at least once a year. I'm going to pick a time where I like it, like probably at the beginning of the year, and just do one playthrough of it. Because I feel like you could, as long as you aren't like metagaming for something specific, you just have a kind of general idea of what you want to do and how to approach it. I feel like you could easily get 6 or 7 playthroughs out of this game and get at least 4 totally different ones.
Yeah, I agree. I played it fairly realistic. Like, there were some answers I could have given people that I think would have spun it in a bit, a definitely much more of a metaphysical way. Because you can be a very hard-nosed, logical person, even if you got your volition up, or what's it, Inland Empire? That's the other one where it makes it a little ethereal and otherworldly. It starts to conflict with your own, with what's real, but you can make it almost a ghost story, but not quite, because there's still, everybody around you isn't seeing what you see. It's just you being Harry, and it's like, yeah, well, maybe I did see that specter in you know, like, because there's a couple of times where it gets a little weird, and I'm pretty sure I didn't do it, but I'm pretty sure you can convince Kim that there's more going on than meets the eye. And by the end of my playthrough, he was on my side almost, and I felt really good about it, because he was like, oh, I see what you see, and I was like, that's all I wanted to hear, man. I'm not crazy. You see it too. We're all not all right. And he basically goes to bat for me.
Because you can get him to trust you, he will like start to believe you before he sees it, like you say. And I kind of like that, because Kim's like, look, either I'm completely insane and I'm very positive I'm not, or you are sane and not completely insane, and I just don't see how yet. Okay, so I'm gonna go with option B. Because I'm Kim. I'm the goat. So don't even worry about that. So you've done this successfully. You've done this successfully. You've gotten me out of this mess. This. You tied up all these loose ends. You can like kind of see the future. If you're positive there's ghosts and shit going on, I believe you. And it's not until like literally at the end of the game where you can get Kim to see it for himself. And near the beginning of the game, when you're inspecting the body, Kim pulls out a camera and takes a picture of the body, so you can show people around town the tattoos in case you need to ask some questions about it, because he's got very unique tattoos on the Hanged Man. But Kim makes a statement that, oh, I only have 2 film cartridges. That was number 1, so, you know, I have 1 left. If you need me to take a picture of something, you know, cool, I have that option.
Make it worth your while.
Yep. Use it wisely, I guess. He doesn't say that, but your brain does. Your brain tells you, hey, that means there's 1 left. Use it wisely. If you save that all the way until the end of the game and don't use it on, I think there's like 2 things you could possibly use it on. If you just don't use it all the way till the very end and do all of the cryptid hunting side quests, you finally get to meet the cryptid. And Kim will see it, and he will literally be like, hold on. And he'll take out that camera, and he'll be able to capture it on film. And, well, I mean, for real, prove this thing exists. There's been tons of sightings, there's tons of research on it, but nobody has a picture of it. And, you know, it's really hard to, at least until deepfakes and AI come into that world, it's going to be very hard to disprove that, you know, a photo's real or fake. So, I think it's
that really
gorgeous shot, because you just see the phasmid kind of like, it's like a reed stick creature kind of thing, and Harry's just like reaching out to touch it, and you know, it's just a beautiful shot. The sun, the colors, the sky. It's like a culmination of so much that you've been working on. It really felt like a I did it moment. Because it also is right where you find the helmet of the armor. So, like, you complete 2 quests that you've probably been working on for days. The armor quest since the beginning of the game, if you decide to do that. And the cryptid quest at least since Wednesday.
Right, because you finally meet the husband who was setting up the traps with the guy who's his assistant, who is also a bit of a shady character. That I knew something was going to pay off from that. I knew they weren't just running me around that island like that just to run you around twice without giving you some sort of payoff. So it was either going to be, it was blah, 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 a mistaken identity kind of thing. It was a chupacabra or whatever, it wasn't that. It just turns out it was a dog. No, this in fact was something that was beyond, and you can have a conversation with it, which I thought was really great. Like this whole moment changes. Like you're going from doing something very matter of fact with this old man to like, did you see that shit over there? Are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing? And then, he's like, yeah, we need to do something about this. And so you approach it very slowly.
It is a surreal moment because, like you said, you're right at the end of this murder investigation. You're investigating which is probably the key suspect because it's like the only guy you haven't investigated yet. And then just right near the end of the investigation, you just are like, hey, there's something moving over there, Kim. And then the old man kind of just goes into a catatonic state because he's freaking out about the whole thing. And all 3 of you just like, all right, hold on. Oh, stop about this murder shit. Hi. And yeah, like you said, Harry starts having because Harry is, for all intents and purposes, Harry is a psychic character. Whether psychic people exist in that universe, who knows, who cares? Harry's a psychic character, and he is able to psychically communicate with things psychically. So he reaches out and he touches this creature and he starts speaking to it through its skin. And it is talking to, it's got like the voice of a young child, but it's also like a bunch of young childs, and it's also like Legion at the same time. So it's a very weird bug, but also like demon like voice at the same time, but it's a benevolent demon sort of voice. It's surreal. It's very interesting how this thing communicates to you. And it's like, oh yeah, I've just been chilling forever and ever and ever. And I, it's really nice that you see me, but I'd rather you didn't see me because you are the problem. You are the problem. You and all of you, but you specifically. So can all of you leave me alone? I would like to go back to nobody knowing I exist. Please leave me alone. And you're like, oh, okay. I kind of understand that.
I found out that it was approximately 300 something years old. It made a clone of itself and then accidentally ate it. I'm pretty sure it was an accident. I don't know if it was 100% sure. But the second I could get Kim to take the picture, I was like, I'm not missing this picture. Kim, take the picture. Take it, or take the picture. I don't want to miss that moment. And coincidentally, it helps you out later on. There's a bit that goes on in between the tribunal and you going to the island, if you so choose to do. That's where you pick up or have the opportunity to clean up your side quests.
Because you'll wake up.
There's some of them I know I missed.
I think no matter what day the tribunal happens for you, no matter what, it will happen. I think on the last day because the game will just make it happen. Even if you don't meet Ruby, I believe it'll just no matter what happen on day 7.
Okay.
But if you meet Ruby, that's the trigger for the tribunal otherwise. So meet Ruby, get the tribunal. After the tribunal, no matter when it happens on, unless you're able to, I'd have to double check, but unless you're able to somehow get through the whole thing without a single hit, which I think still you take at least 1 hit, you'll pass out for like a day. So after the tribunal, whatever day that is on, that day kind of gets skipped because you're in a comatose-ish state. You're passed out, you're recovering. Then you wake up, and if Kim made it through the gunfight, then Kim will be there with you, and you're ready to continue on your missions. And like you said, this is the perfect and probably the last time that you're really going to be able to wrap up your side quests and pick up any ones that you have been sitting on. There was one that I just didn't do, and that was try to go on the date with what's her name down by the docks. It was a white check. I failed it 2 or 3 times. I failed it 2 or 3 times, even with putting more skills into that thing, doing like legitimate rerolls of it, and multiple times save scumming it. So I was like, I don't really. I'm only doing this because it's an option, not because I care or I want it. I don't like this character. I'm not in. We don't have any chemistry, so it doesn't matter. I just let it be.
Yeah, and you can also, there is sometimes secret things pop up, and one of them was to ask her kids about the main island, and I missed that too. But one of the things I wanted to push that I didn't get a lot into was the intercom system. There was something going on with the intercoms in that one little area outside of Whirling and Rags before you get to the crime scene area. And I know one of them, like, I don't know if I failed a dialogue tree or a roll or what had happened, but I know there was a couple that seemed to like go to businesses that weren't there, or there shouldn't have been anything on the other end.
Lillian,
but there was, like, I was talking,
is the girl's name on the docks. And yeah, most of the buttons on the the intercom just do nothing, and they just ring to just let you know a little bit about the business. It's mostly just kind of like a ooh, interesting, ooh, oh, okay, ooh. But one of them, it gets you onto a customer service call, and the lady, it seems like she's a ghost, just because she's talking to you, but not to you. She's more like talking at you. She's talking through you. Some of your responses happen to line up with her, and it seems like she's talking to you, but she's kind of just going through her script. And you are right. It seems like there's more going on there, and maybe I didn't go through all of it, but the way I remember it is, it seems like there is literally a ghost in the system. There's a ghost trapped in that call thing, and somehow an event happened, and it either literally imprisoned her in there, or it's like an echo, like a sort of just a permanent just echoing in the wiring. And the game tries to write it off as like a scientific thing that can happen, which maybe it can, I don't know, but not in the kind of way that the game is presenting it to you, where it's like a conscious being trapped in the phone.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. That there was some entity on the other end that was just like forever doing customer service or something, like, and I was wondering if I could exercise it, that kind of thing. Like, oh, well, maybe you should take the rest of the day off. Oh, you're right, I will. I'm just making that up in my head, but that's how this game starts to come off to me after a while. It's like, you don't realize it can be very matter of fact. Like, you can ignore that whole cryptid aspect. You don't even have to get into that. You can just play it and play it straight.
Right. You could walk on the beach and see those two guys playing with the cage and be like, oh, okay, anyway, and just keep moving.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's not even something that's relevant to your investigation. And
Kim likes to point that out. This isn't relevant. Hey, why are we doing this? Hey, Harry, where are we going? Do we really need
especially
to be doing
with
this? And it's like, I don't
putting
know,
locusts.
Kim. One of my 40 instincts that are inside of my body constantly talking to me told me I should do this, so we're doing it.
Yeah, and that's I love it. I wish I would have streamed it more, because there was a lot of, it would say like, yeah, maybe you should try that, and then it would be like, logic would be like, no, you shouldn't. Like straight up contradict any like encouragement any other aspects were trying to give me. There was definitely one that would be like, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, empathy and logic don't
try
get
to kiss her
very often. They're just constantly like, this is a matter of fact, and the other one's like, yeah, but this is also a matter of fact, and it's completely different than that one. So you choose.
Yeah.
and I feel like that's a really good highlight of this game is me, the player, were constantly swayed by me, the character, instead of the other way around, where it normally is in games. I would just be going through a situation and something would happen in a dialogue tree, like you said, where logic would just be like, okay, make this decision. Do it now. Do this right now. I'm like, I trust me. I trust me. So I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna just do this right now. I don't know whether it's good. I don't know whether it's bad, but my impulse has said do it, and this is me obeying that impulse. So, boop. It like sort of emulates how you would really approach a situation like that, where a thought just comes into your brain, like, "Hey, this is the right situation." It's like, am I saying that because I know it, or why? Why am I saying this?
It's your gut instinct trying to get you to do one thing against your better judgment, and it happens to me quite often. Like, I'm going to go ahead and just hop in the car with my friends, and then all of a sudden we're getting tickets for having drugs in the car or something. You know what I mean? Like, any on a whim decision, and this game definitely tries to get you to it. Like you said, it sways you away from what you might actually do versus what you want to see. You know, it encouraged me for sure to say the more ridiculous things. And there were some, like right at the end too, I was like, yeah, motherfucker, yeah. You know, like he was, this is it, you know, we got him. That's why I'm definitely, like you said, I think maybe scheduling time between Christmas and New Year's for Disco Elysium once a year.
Something I find fascinating on reflection is out of the, I don't have it pulled up, but out of the, we'll just say like 40 skills you have, none of them are an emotion. None of them are like any, you don't have like anger, you don't have sadness, you don't have like none of those are apparent. All of those emotions and feelings or stuff are told through either Harry directly saying it in dialogue choices, or through various other aspects, like your electrochemistry will tell you, be like, ooh, you're feeling good right now. You want that so much, and it would make you feel incredible. And it's like, sure, but that's not an emotion. That would be like satisfaction, and maybe I would feel happy afterwards, but the happiness isn't telling me to go do that drug. It's the desire to have that chemical flowing through me telling me to go feel good.
It's the desire for contentment. It's not necessarily not even, like you said, it's not even necessarily happiness. It's just, you know, complacency. Like, you're not happy, you're not angry, you're not anything really, just even keel.
Another example is like Harry doesn't experience fear. There's not like a fear emotion. There's no situation in the game where Harry's ever really scared. There's situations where he starts to panic and his volition will fail. He'll run out of rhetoric. He won't have a high enough logic. He won't have an encyclopedia, so he won't be able to know about something. And all of those will cause him to feel something, which will be told to you through other dialogues. But none of your actual skills are in any way really an emotion. And I find that fascinating, because all of the game is told to you from the inside of this guy, but none of them are like, almost none of them are just regular things that you would think about. Reaction speed, that's like a physical trait or whatever, but your reaction speed can talk to you, because sometimes you'll have like an impulse, and that impulse will tell you something, and that's like a reaction speed talking to you in the game. And to me, it never felt like one of the little like characters were out of place when they came up, but it's like, why are you talking to me right now? Like, why is my inner dialogue right now telling me this thing? No, it all felt like, oh, okay, it's a little abstract, but so is the human mind sometimes. You'll just be thinking about something and you'll be like, oh, remember that one time where I was in the woods and I saw like a really cool cardinal? It's like, why am I thinking about that right now? I don't know.
One of the things that I interacted with that made a lot of thoughts come out of Harry himself was the pinball machine. Like, it was interfacing, there was logic, there was Inland Empire, because the machine you're playing has a character and a story that's related to it. And not just Kim's side story of him having to go undercover and be a pinball master, But like, it's like if you walked up to play a Addams Family machine, like Addams Family has its own
story,
thing, like its own right. So you like learn about how this like somewhat, I guess he was a nationalist farmer or something, and then like the goats are an allegory, and the goats almost all wind up dead no matter what. But your interface says, oh, you see this like how is interfacing talking to me? But that's one of your aspects, one of your traits, is how your hands are telling you things, you know. Oh, my mouse feels I can feel the rigid texture, so I know I got better grip. A little bit like that. And it's like, oh, you notice through the fog, you can see the pathway. And it's basically, you know, between hand-eye coordination and your interfacing.
Which is funny that those
points.
two are very similar, but they're also completely distinct in the game. They are hand in hand, literally. They're both hand in hand skills, but they function drastically different. One is a more physical trait, and the other one is more like understanding.
Right. Like I would say, interfacing explains more, like understanding of what you're doing. Where your hand-eye coordination is that it's a reaction speed. You can hit the paddle at the right time, or in some cases, draw your gun quicker than the other guy. You know, your hand-eye coordination you'd be a better shot. Unfortunately, I was not. In this
Were
game.
you able to finally get your pinball roll that you were trying to? I know in the last episode,
No,
you
I did not.
You wanted to.
It was like
that
it's 3%.
might be something you just have to look up, because that is something I would really be curious to know about. And fascinating that we bridge into that, because the pinball machine is in the back room of the kitchen. If you're able to get the kitchen door open through, there's like two means you can get it open. If you get it open, you're able to go into a storeroom that stored pinball machines, because the Whirling and Rags used to be a pinball arcade, as well as what it used to be now, but some of it used to be a pinball arcade, like the Union Box or whatever. But now it's more like just kind of a rundown repair shop, and it's been locked up. The guy who has the key kind of moved out, so it's just kind of been sitting there. Except there are some footprints that lead from the kitchen all the way upstairs to a secret passage that happens to go up to Classier's room. And there's a hole drilled in the wall, so turns out somebody's also been spying on Classier. Which is, if you don't discover that, you will never even really figure that out. It won't even be part of the mystery. But if you're able to like get in there and figure out the secret passage exists, now you're like, okay, so this was definitely like a planned thing. They've been spying on her. They knew she was staying here. They were probably planning this out. So it adds a whole nother mystery, especially since nobody's been up there in a long time. It's easy to keep track of the footprints. So you compare them, if you've done this, you can compare them with the footprints that are outside in the yard and realize, one of those is very similar to the footprint up here, and it's more than likely that the same person that was up here was also in the yard. So, it adds another layer to the mystery of, was it one of the Hardy Boys, or is there now somebody else in the case? Which, if you found the bullet, just adds on top of that. Once you're finally able to meet with Classier and talk to her, she is surprisingly not helpful at all, because she really doesn't want to incriminate herself. She doesn't really tell you anything about the case that you don't already know from everything else you've learned so far, at least for me. The only thing I really learned from her is who she is, why she's here, and why she was with the mercenary, which doesn't really matter for the case. It matters for the story, but for the case, it doesn't. None of that helped. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was basically she was escorting with the guy while he was in town. You know, he was a drunken jerk, but he had money, and so he was taking. The Hardy Boys try to make it seem like he was being heavy-handed with her and all of this, and I don't think it was going down that way. I think she was partying with him. They were both having a good time up in the room, and I think the Hardy Boys were jealous, especially Titus kind of seemed to have a crush on her, but she's a working girl, so it kind of wasn't going to work out no matter what he did, kind of thing. And even I'm unsure of that. It might have only been the mercenary. She was like, kind of, let's take advantage of this guy for the week. It didn't seem like she was a night, like a streetwalker, escort, prostitute, or anything. It just seemed like she got caught up with this guy who was a bit of a dick and a war criminal. Basically.
Yeah, she actually is, like what her story is she's kind of on the run. She's part of a corporate espionage thing. She is kind of sort of in witness protection program for something she did for a company against another company. And she has intel and information. So she's kind of hiding on the low because she doesn't want to get essentially assassinated for whatever she did for this other company. So she's kind of laying low, just staying in Martinez because it's kind of a hellhole dump city. And while she was staying there, she happened to find a guy that she liked. Things kind of worked out. They kind of hit it off for a while. Things are just working out. And then somebody killed him.
Yes, while he was on top of her in her bedroom. And that's one of the first things you notice when investigating and first going to talk to her is that there was a window pane that was replaced. That was directly in line with her bed. So, and then, like you said, we eventually get into the kitchen. We put some vodka in the soup with the chef, and then we go upstairs and find all the footprints leading all the way up there. And yeah, it does come off more premeditated then. Because like somebody was here and watching them, at least the day before, if not when it happened. If it wasn't one of the Hardy Boys, it was the actual murderer himself.
At this time, because I didn't have enough context clues, but me, the player, is still trying to figure out what's going on and see if I can solve it before the game solves it for me. I'm like trying to put together what's going on here, and because of the broken window, because of the gunshot and all this thing, initially I thought, well, it seems pretty obvious. Somebody just ran through the kitchen, went upstairs, took the little elevator thing, went out the front, or went out the... Classier's room has a balcony, and her room is directly attached to the balcony, and the secret passageway is like a service door on the balcony. So he could have, whoever killed this guy, could have just came out the service door, went right outside on the balcony, shot the person, and then just ran. But it seemed like there wasn't enough evidence to support that because there's no gunpowder residue, there's no ballistic traces on the roof itself. Why would the window have been repaired so quickly? There's a lot of what's going on here. Plus, once you're finally able to get in there, if you don't have your visual calculus skill high enough, you won't make this check. But later on in the game, Classier will help make it for you. After she leaves after the tribunal, she'll set up some red string and shit on the window and try to literally point you. Hey, look, dummy. Somebody shot through this window right here. That's where the bullet came from. I don't know exactly where because I'm not a fucking brain scientist, but it came from this window, that direction. If you use your visual calculus skill, you're able to find 3 trajectories that it could have come from and narrow down 3 gun points. That was my big sticking point for the murder investigation. I found the bullet, and I found out that there was more than meets the eyes, so I immediately stopped trusting everybody in the case, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna follow this bullet lead, because somebody shot up. Whether or not the bullet killed the guy, we'll find out later. Somebody shot a bullet into him. We need to figure out who and why, so that was my big case. I went to the one objective, cleared it out, and figured out, okay, wasn't shot from here, not enough vantage point, doesn't seem sturdy enough, like an old radio tower. The next one is on top of a building, kind of near a boardwalk, and while it's a good vantage point, the angle isn't right, and it seems like it would have been too hard based on the elevation change. So that you mark that one out. And it was driving me insane because the third one probably shot from the island over there. I'm like, okay, so how do I get to the island? How do I get to the island? How do I get to the island? I kept talking to Joyce. I kept talking to Joyce over and over and over. I'm like, Joyce, can I
take your boat, bitch.
Borrow your boat? Can you drive me over there?
She's telling you no because you already gave you money.
I need to figure
I'll swim.
Even if the island option C is also a bust, I have to mark it off the list. I have to do it. So that was where I spent like 2 days just trying to tie up that, like on stream. I was just walking around the boardwalk for like 3 hours trying to find this fucking like sniper's nest. And I'm like, I have to go do something else because I'm just gonna spend forever on this.
I was just gonna say that this is a game that when you hit a wall, it is more beneficial to stop what you're doing and go do something completely different and then come back and sit down and approach it again. Very few games really outpuzzle me, and this was one of them because of that. There's just too many options, and that was like, oh, go check the island. I'm like, okay, I will. How? Tell me. And it was like just nobody was coming up with anything until after the tribunal thing happened. Then Joyce left. I didn't go back to talk to Everett, and our potentially hot date was the avenue that got me across. I don't know if there was others that were any other potential rowboats, or maybe take a nice little paddle boat with Kim. You know what I'm talking about, like the little. Sorry, it's a
As
reference for nobody.
says, her name is Lillian, and yes, that was where I met her. She was the lady that let me borrow her boat too. She's like, I just repainted it, and I just put full tank of gas in there. Do not sink my boat. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, basically,
fine.
yeah. I was like, I'm a cop, but don't worry.
I crashed my car into the lake over there. I'm not going to sink your boat.
Yeah, the car crashing into the lake. I tried to lie my way out of that, and it didn't work, because even trying to lie your way out of it, it's just a bad lie too.
I
don't want to get too far ahead.
You could find out more information about that night with Harry, because like you hear it from everyone's perspective, but you never see it. There's no.
I love that.
Yeah, like
that's my favorite thing.
When you're on the phone with Sylvie, it's like so relatable, because she's like, why are you calling me? Please don't ask me any questions. And you're like, but you worked there. You like were at the diner. You know about the murder, right? And she's like, no, okay, I don't know about it. Okay, and you're like, okay, clearly either she's in danger, she's got a weird attitude right now. I don't know what her problem is. And you press her on it, and she's just like, because you're the worst customer I've ever had, ever. You were raving, running around like a lunatic without your clothes on. You were threatening to kill people. You were threatening to kill yourself. You were waving your guns at patrons. You were playing songs all fucking night. I used to like this song, and you played it so much that I fucking hate this song now. You made it a joke. You made the service industry a nightmare for me. You did this. And it's like, oh, fuck. You know, that does sound like me, and I'm really sorry about it. And she's like, fuck you, don't apologize to me. It's like, ow, okay, all right, wow, okay, I can't fix this. I'm sorry.
And that's not the last person to give you that type of chastisement. You know, you just get yelled at by a few people whose night you really upset their way of life in some cases. Yeah, that's from waking up with none of your clothes on, to finding out your car's in the ocean or in a frozen body of water. You pawned your gun, your badge is missing, you threw away all your paperwork. You wake up from a horrible night, and as you don't know why. Like you said, you get bits and pieces, and for somebody like myself who's never really been like blackout drunk or done so many things that, I mean, I've straight up passed out, okay, I'm going to bed, and just fell asleep. But never have I woke up like, what the hell did I do last night? And things were busted and broken. I'm so lucky that hasn't happened to me, because you hear these types of stories from, well, college mates and things like that. You know, it's like, oh, dude, I shouldn't have had tequila. Like, I couldn't imagine. And now going through this, you know, you vicariously get that experience of, what did this guy do? And it does a good job of making it feel like you are Harry through the whole story.
I think you nailed that right there. Because I went into it blind, completely blind, other than the like one trailer, maybe a couple screenshots, I had no idea who I was, no idea where I was. I had no idea what I was doing, no idea why I was doing it. I was Harry. I woke up in this guy's body in this place, and I was like, why are there voices in my head? And that was me. And then as Harry learned things, I learned things. It does unless you are watching this podcast and then go play the game. If you know, like if you're going into it blind like I did, like you said, the game, you experience the game through Harry so well that like you start kind of merging with the guy. His personality influences you a little bit. You influence his personality, and it really to quote, it makes you feel like Harry.
Yeah, definitely. And that's it. Like there's a balance of what I want to try to push the game, what kind of story I'm getting out of the game versus what I would actually do. As you know, the game does try to push you to pick a political lean. You know, whether you're a communist or a capitalist or
and it's hard to avoid all of those if you don't want to.
And, well, that's what I mean. The game really kind of pushes you. It's like, hey, dude, quit being a fence sitter. You know, it's like you can't go through life, you know, not leaning one way or another. So when the game at the very end kind of based on your decisions tells you, even if you don't, like, even if you say you're a communist, if you still pick the non-communist choices, it's going to tell you you're actually, like, it told me that I was, I think I mentioned a little while ago, it's like I was a moral centrist, but a socio-economist, kind of like everything for everybody, but at the same time, it's all about me, you know, which is kind of right. Like, to each their own. I would let everybody do what they like to do, but pay attention to me too while you're doing it, you know. I'm a superstar.
Two quotes to sum up my character from the end of the game were an ultra-nationalist, woman hater, and more than a little racist. So, as you can see, also a absolutely visionary entrepreneur. Oh, okay. So I'm a racist, woman hater, ultra-nationalist entrepreneur. Huh.
Yeah.
Not
reconcile that.
Not exactly completely accurate, but definitely not wrong.
Because it's the thing. Like, you can totally, like, there's opportunities where, you know, you're like for Revachol, you know, and that makes you a nationalist. Doesn't necessarily make you always a racist, but there are things about being like you want things to be in your country. Either assimilate or get out is kind of the nationalist thing. Like, you're one of us or you're not. You don't come to America to be something else in America. You come here to be American. And this game it's teaching a lot of young minds like myself included how these things work. It gets super complicated in some of these ideologies, and you could piss a lot of people off with them too, you know. The truck driver union, they want you to be nationalist. They want you to be upstanding for them. But some of the other poor people are like, well, we need help, and they ain't helping. You know, they're all about driving their trucks. They could give a shit less about, and the main guy on top, Everett, wants to put a YMCA on top of them. And you could do that. You can get away with that there. And not feel so guilty because it's just a game. But I did anyway. I did.
That's a good thing. You don't feel guilty in a lot of these situations. Like, you feel something, but you don't ever feel bad, because it's a good thing it is just a game and I'm not really hurting these people.
But that's it. Yeah, it does make you.
It does good job of making you simulate feelings.
Yeah. That's these moral dilemmas. You know, is it better to clean up a poor area? I mean, yeah, but what do you do with the people who are there? That's the, you know, how do you? Because I think he was trying to persuade me a bit, but like, oh, we'll have like a facility for them somewhere down the line, maybe. But get those signatures and we'll take care of it now. You know?
It's like, how much do we trust you? Clearly you care about your people, but who's to say that these people are going to become your people just because you're building in their area? Like,
Right. And
there's no actual guarantee for these people. The one lady is an old lady, and the other lady is Lillian and her 2 kids. So it's like, shit, am I going to kick out 4 people from their houses so this guy can build a youth center? I guess so. I did. That was my choice, and I respect you for being like, nah, I'm not gonna do this anymore.
yeah, but at the same time, because we both went through the end, I got chastised really hard for not having my gun, as I never went and got it.
Well, yeah,
So,
like as I mentioned, some crazy old lady. Her name is the Pigs. That's her like name in game is the Pigs. So yeah, some lady named the Pigs is running around with your pistol. Yeah. That's not a good thing for Martinez. Who knows when she's going to snap and become the police at somebody and going to try to arrest them or get into a gunfight with somebody over trash.
Who knows what? Yeah, exactly. Shopping cart. That's what came to my mind. They're fighting over shopping cart garbage.
Yeah, that's she does embody that crazy old lady with the shopping cart really well.
And that's so we're kind of steering towards the end. I don't want to give too much away, but like, yeah, you investigated the first trajectory point, then you investigate the second. You can go through your side quests and try to get as much information before going to that island as possible. And then once you get there, there's not very much to do. Just a bit of looking around and finding out some stuff.
But before we go to the island to close out, we've been tiptoeing sort of around a character that has been mentioned a couple. Her name is Ruby.
I'm glad you.
Yes. Ruby is a character that has been talked about on and off throughout this and the first episode. Ruby is the unofficial extra Hardy boy. She's the Hardy girl. She kind of works with them. She doesn't really work with them. She works alongside them. She's adjacent to them. She's one of the lorry drivers that is kind of associated with trafficking them various goods and stuff like that. She's in the drug trade. She does other things. She's a mover. She was pinned down as a suspect and she went into hiding, and the Hardy Boys covered up for her completely. And basically nobody in town is going to say anything about her for me, except for one of her fellow truck drivers. I kind of pushed him into it, browbeat him a little bit, and he cracked and told me about what was going on with her. The information he gave me wasn't too helpful, so I felt bad about the fact that I made him betray his friend, and now he feels bad about himself. And I'm like, I'm sorry, guy, man. I'm the door opener, and I thought you were a door. I'm sorry. Okay, my bad.
You made him snitch.
Yeah, so she is kind of hiding away from you, and because of that is a massive suspect in the case, as well as a lot of other circumstantial evidence leads us to believe that the killer is slender, thin, and light. So, I mean, a woman kind of fits that description, so maybe we're looking for a woman. So she becomes kind of the prime suspect in the case for a while, especially because everyone is hiding her. So, I mean, like, if she didn't do it, come on, just come talk to us. I haven't accused anyone of doing it so far. If she did it, then I'll accuse her. If she didn't, then I'm going to keep not accusing people. So, you follow a bunch of leads, and however you find her, whether it's psychically or actually finding her or somebody tells you or whatever, you finally catch up with Ruby, and she kind of obviously was waiting for you to come and get her. So as you approach her, she hits you with a CIA riot police style sonic CC cannon. You kind of walk in and she hits you with like the perfect amount of sound waves to completely paralyze you and Kim without actually putting you on the ground. And
you're suspended by sound.
Yeah, you're kind of just you're so enamored with the frequencies hitting you that you can't really do anything except for mumble out some words and try to negotiate her not killing you right now. Because if she wanted to, she could just walk up to and put bullets in both of your heads and it would be over. She has you completely trapped. And however this situation ends, turns out Ruby didn't do it. I was almost positive of that anyway by the time I got to her, because there was so much evidence being like, she's just scared. That's why she ran. I don't think she did it. Like, I really don't. There's nothing to prove she did. So I'm going to go with the fact that she didn't. And then once you end the conversation and she kind of just tells you, I didn't do it. I'm like, I know. I know you didn't do it. It's cool. As far as I know, there's only 2 ways this can end, because those are the only 2 ways it ended for me. If you do your checks and everything, she will try to run away, and you can let her. Seems like the best option to me. That seemed like the completely humane and correct option. She didn't do it. Maybe, you didn't handle this situation against the cops, and assaulting us wasn't the best thing to do, but I'm not going to walk into another trap where you're going to kill me next time. So have a good life. Bye. I don't care about the drug trade either. I'm not here for that. I'm here for the murder. That's the one thing I'm here for. That's the one thing I care about. Everything else is circumstantial. You didn't kill him? Did you kill him? No? All right, have a great day. Cool.
Yeah, and like you said, everything's search them. Oh, I was going to say,
go ahead. No, you go
ahead. There's a lot of red herrings because of the circumstantial evidence. So yeah, I was very happy to just be like, don't kill me. There's the door. That's it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract.
The other way it ended for me, which I immediately I said, nope, this isn't happening. I failed a couple of checks, and she got scared and blew her own head off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she committed suicide because I guess she was worried I was going to take her in. But I don't exactly remember. But she was so not having it that she killed herself, and I was like, nope, reroll checkpoint. Because if you did do it, I definitely can't prove it now because you're dead. I just rewound, and I was like, I'm going to let you leave. And if it comes up again, we'll deal with it later. Sure. But as of right now, I'm not dead. You're not dead. Guy is still dead. Nothing is going to change by us going at this further.
That's wild, because that's another body that you would be responsible for. At the end of my game, I got yelled at about the tribunal, and he told me it was like, dude, 6 people plus 1. Because the one, I think, guy that fell was like a dead body that got counted towards me. I don't remember. But that's another one. There's like, because you can go on with that. You can let that character die, and it'll change the story in the end. Because then now you're more even if you do good at the tribunal, you still caused this to happen, and they're going to let you know about it. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah. So Ruby was kind of like the big goal point for the first half of the game up until the tribunal. After you meet her, like I said multiple times, meeting her will trigger it no matter what. Once you meet her, you can't fast travel anymore, and you have to walk back to Martinez to the Whirling in Rags.
Yeah.
Once you get back to the Whirling in Rags, the tribunal will start no matter what. This is where it happens. Despite the fact that Ruby is a big linchpin in the beginning of the game, doesn't really matter, especially after she literally runs off the screen. She's kind of out of the game after that. Now you kind of go back to having no distinct leads, which pushes you to go to the last place in the area that you haven't investigated, which is the island. So you finally are able to convince somebody to lend you a boat. Lillian lets you borrow it, and you have another one of the best scenes in the game where your character, if you have it, I imagine it doesn't happen if you don't.
Did.
But if your character has the boombox that you can buy from the pawn shop, your character will take the boombox, set it to his favorite FM radio station, set it to a sad boy emo FM song, and then have Kim just take you all the way across the bay, very nice and slow, as the song just, sad song, it's a sad, sad song.
I wish I would have screen capped that.
The whole time he's just like,
yeah. It's like, if we got to. Like, and he's so reluctant to let you have your fun, but he does anyway. That was something. He says he's a disco cop like 20 times a day. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. He's a superstar lawman, but he gets the job done, so.
And completely insane and also really good at his job, so.
And if you're lucky, you discover a new species. You know what I'm saying? So that was really. That's probably the sole thing that kept me my job was finding the plasmid. Phase. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes. That's probably the only reason I got to keep my job.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we have a cryptid cop now. I didn't know that was a type of cop. Like, okay, cool. The new capo type unlocked.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cryptid cop.
Speaking
I was a little upset that I didn't
to the rest of the island.
Oh, yeah.
There is a mechanic. It's like a soft mechanic in the game. It's called your capo type. Your like Este Corpse / your authority, kind of both of them together. Occasionally will pop up to you and be like, "We have you figured out. We know what kind of policeman you are." And you'll be like, "Okay, what am I?" And they'll be like, "You're the sorriest motherfucking cop on earth. You're the sorry pussy cop." And you could be like, "No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the sorry cop." And then I'll be like, "All right, fine. Well, fuck. We'll find something else to call you then." And then it can come up a couple of times. And I think you can turn them all down and not get a capo type. But
okay.
I think there's like 10 total capo types, which is it's like a weird subclass that you can lean into. It doesn't do anything, but it's something that you can be like, "Oh yeah, I was." Because there's two that I leaned into. I was the sorriest cop ever. Like, I think I did a total of at least 10 sorry options. So I got the rare achievement for sorry cop.
Yes.
And I was also the liberal art cop. So
I was
really? Constantly just criticizing art and talking about art and being like, art this, art that.
No, that's great. Yeah, I was the sorry cop first because I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you." Because, again, you wake up with no memory and you're just like,
"I'm sorry."
For me, it's natural to apologize. Yeah, I didn't mean to smash your bird, dude. I'm sorry. Like, whether I was or wasn't, I'm just apologizing. And I think I wound up, I think I could have learned art cop. I think that was one of them, like one of the thought processes you can do. And then I ended up with disco cop. You're a superstar, but you're not that kind of superstar. Very much probably like some of these guys that think they still got it. I'm gonna get back into radio. Radio's gonna be my big show again. I think it's like that. I think I'm gonna be on top as a cop again. You just wait till I'm gonna bust the big case. And if you're lucky, you do. I think you have no choice but to pin it on the person that actually gets caught for crimes.
And with that, we'll move on to it. So the last segment of the game is you finally make your way to the island. You get off, and there is a military bunker. It's basically a little I don't know exactly what they're called, but it's kind of like a scout island off the side of the coast to warn of attacks, protect against it, and also be the first line of defense. It can raise a kind of like ocean gate, like chain thing to prevent boats from being able to get into the harbor as easy. It's an offensive and defensive position strategically. It fell during the war. The communist people sieged Martinez and destroyed a lot of the coastline. Martinez kind of lost. And then years and years and years later, some of the city has been rebuilt, but a lot of it just kind of still lays in ruin because it's way more expensive to demolish and rebuild it than it is to just put some red tape on it. Please don't go in there. So kind of like the real world, they just kind of let the ruins sit there.
Right. It would be more expensive to clean up the mess there than to just leave it be. And that makes it ripe for other people to just kind of move in.
And it turns out that somebody is living on the island, a sort of kind of homeless man. He's the last character that you haven't talked to in the game if you've been thorough. It's just you don't meet him just yet. As you go through the island, you get a lot of signs that somebody's living here. There's clothes, there's a bed, there's like a little bonfire that's burnt out, but if you touch it, it's probably still just a little bitty warm. So it was probably a fire that lasted a while, but a couple of days ago. So there's signs that somebody lives here. And as you explore the rest of the island, you finally find the last mark on your ballistics quest to find out the sniper's nest. And lo and behold, you for sure do find a sniper's nest. You don't know 100% sure whether or not bullets were fired from here, but there's a mattress set up so people can lay there, put their knees on it. There's divots in the walls for like a bipod. So definitely somebody has put a sniper here. Again, circumstantial evidence, but very, very, very good sign. For me, this was finally a eureka moment, because like I said, that was like my big quest is who and where did this bullet come from? So once I found out this is where it was shot, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Or now, who fucking shot this?
You're right, because you look to the left of it and it's like, yep, I can see this area straight across. And then you look over to the right, further to the right, and you can see straight across some broken buildings. And then it's like, well, let's see if we can see right where we need to. And it's a straight shot all the way straight to that window. There's almost nothing blocking the view.
It's like a 1 in 1,000 shot, but theoretically, it's a line of sight. Bullet could make it.
It's a straight shot, right? And that's what, I think Kim mentions. He's like, yeah, with a scope, I would be able to see exactly where I'm going. And you find that there was a generator too. There was also a generator in the bunker that was being maintained. Somebody was maintaining it and using it, if only to keep heat and lights on inside the bunker. And you take a nap in there if you like. Kim will keep an eye on you while you take a nap.
Did you decide to take a nap?
I did.
I did too. I was really hesitant about it. I was like, I don't know. My first instinct was to be like, no, I don't need it. My character's fine. I like, it's still relatively early in the morning. It's fine. Like, I'm good. But what if I have like a weird psychic moment here? What if I have like some sort of astral dream or something? I know Kim will protect me.
That was it.
But what if something happens to Kim? Shit. Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna risk it. And I was like, all right, Kim, I trust you. You trust me. I trust you. I'm gonna take a nap. You said I could. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and it's presented like Kim sees that you're fatiguing a little bit because you got two. In my case, I had 2 bullet holes in me, one in my side and one in my chest. And so he's like, "Oh, go ahead and take a nap. I'll keep an eye on it." And that's exactly what I thought. I was like, because I've slept a couple of times, and every time I go to sleep, it's like I don't even sleep because I'm busy arguing with my limbic system and other parts of my subconscious that are now trying to help me. Maybe I don't think they are, but
it seems like mostly
you do
they're
have
just
some bizarre
teasing you that you suck.
Yeah, yes, that too, especially you're old and weak now. Your nervous system doesn't want to respond anymore. But yeah, I did. There's a strange dream sequence that I went through for taking the nap in the bunker.
And I'm so glad I did, because I felt like this really, really like expanded on Harry as a character, not just the character I was playing, who he used to be.
Right.
There's been a bunch of times throughout the story that Harry alludes to something in his past. He doesn't exactly know what it is, but he knows there is something in his past that is like dark and haunting him. If you open up and find your police ledger, you can find a note from somebody in your past. You can find a phone number, and if you call it, you can have a conversation with somebody across the planet with a phone number 1 million digits long. And all throughout, there are just mentions of the ex something, which obviously is your ex-wife if you got married, or it was probably one of those relationships where like, well, we've been together so long, we'll just call each other husband and wife, but why actually get married? That's money, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, let's fuck the paperwork, whatever. So presumably this person is his ex-wife because he just calls it the ex something. But, Harry's ex-wife, her name is Dora. She split with him just not for anything particular, you know? It just kind of love faded. Things just weren't what they wanted. Things weren't going well anymore. Just life moves on and passion fades, and they didn't find a way to rekindle it, and it kind of built into resentment and a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until the point where they didn't really even want to look at each other and stuff like that. So Dora took her stuff, wrote him a note, and kind of just left. And that's kind of where the note leads you. It's like, this is one of those notes where she left and it was a good leave and she's excited to come back to you. And then this other one is, I don't want to see you. And it's Harry trying to come to the fact that, hey, I lost my love. Maybe I could have fought harder for it. Maybe things could have been different, but there's nothing I can do for it now. And there's a bunch of other moments in the game where Harry will compare his ex something to the Lost Innocence, which is like the super pope of the world. Her name is Dolores Day. And she embodies a lot of the characteristics that Dora had, and in Harry's fucked up conscious, he's constantly bleeding those two together, and he can't really separate who Dolores Day is and who Dora was and which one is which, because he sees his ex something as this goddess-like being, Dolores Day. So for all he knows, that is Dora, and maybe it was Dora and she became... It's kind of left up to you, the player, it seems, to interpret whether Dora became Dolores or not. But anyway, in his dream sequence, you are kind of just walking through like this weird dreamlike city. It's kind of like on a coast, but it's not. It's kind of on the water, but it's not. You're just it's a very dreamy sequence. You can tell. That or you died. So that was honestly my first thought. It was like, oh my fucking God, I got killed.
Oh, now you're dead.
You
died
dead.
In your sleep.
I went to sleep.
Because that's exactly something
that
would happen.
Somebody killed Kim, and somebody came and killed me, and I'm in hell now. So yeah, you walk and you find this lady who is walking and taking her suitcase, and it is a young Dolores Day on her way to the airship before her coronation, and she wants to travel there because she's done with her old life and she has to move on. And as you're talking to her, the dream apparition is slipping between Dolores, the first, or the Lost Innocence, and your Lost Innocence, Dora. So in some lines it'll be Dolores, some lines it'll be Dora, and it'll be hard for you to kind of tell which is which. I think it's the whole purpose of it, is to be confusing. And the whole purpose, at least my interpretation of this, is it's Harry's subconsciousness coming to the realization that he has lost her and he needs to let go because he's just hurting himself, and more importantly, he's hurting her.
Yeah, that's sparing the details. What kind of it boils down to is she's moved on, and he was kind of still trying to grasp at something, and Dora wasn't having it. Whatever happened between her and him, he did something to push her away, even after. And I don't know what dialogues you got, but it gets pretty deep, or it did for me as I was talking to Dolores. Yes, it gets very sad. Harry wasn't doing so great because Dora, like you said, it gets a little confusing. It seems, or at least the way what I gleaned from it was, she was also in love with somebody else at one point, and it was Harry was dating Dora, or trying to, while she was also being courted by another guy. And I forget which one it was, but it might have been Pain Threshold. It's like, you don't want to do this. You don't want to go down this road. You don't want to know what's going to happen here if you keep pressing. And of course I did, because I do want to know. And
your Pain Threshold isn't really telling you don't want to know. It's warning you this is going to get you hurt, even though it's literally telling you don't want to know. But that's how your Pain Threshold would do that. It would be like, you don't want to know this. It's not important. Pff, fuck that bitch. Come on, man. Whatever, but you like you said, you press on, and it's tough.
It's not physical pain this time either. It's not you getting punched by some dockyard guy. It's you find out that she was pregnant, and that you got her pregnant. She terminated it. At least this is what happened to me. And then now she's already pregnant with the other guy and on her way. She's like, it has to end. It has to end. And then you get the opportunity to try to kiss her. And I did. And another one of those roles where like, yeah, you want to win the role because that's how we're geared. We want to pass the check, and it just made everything worse.
Yeah, yes, and I felt that same way. Right. I was excited to make the check, and then when it rolled and the screen hues to that green tint and it makes the solid, like the positive sound for it, I'm like, yeah. And then it starts happening, and I'm like, no, stop.
I just made a total blunder. You're pushing something that's already gone, and you're pushing it with. In your dream state, you're really arguing with yourself at that point, like your innocence versus your lost innocence. And you understand why Harry starts drinking so bad, and apparently it happened 6 years before this case. Like, that's how long you've been trashing your body and your mind, and you just want to get away from all of that you drank yourself into a death spiral, and here you are. Now we kind of do, like you said, you get handed, you breadcrumbed the whole game about his ex-lady, and you want to know what happened, and then you do find out, and the game's right. You kind of regret it. I could have done without all of that.
I did not need to know that for me to be Harry, but I'm really glad I did, because that is human nature. It is almost always better to know than it is to not know. The consequences of coming with it might suck, but it's better to have loved and lost than never loved at all,
And knowing you can make the adjustment. Like, okay, this is what was haunting me. Now I've confronted it in my own mind. Maybe I can actually take correct
steps.
Finally
start getting over
to
it.
Stop drinking. Right. Because that's never really been a problem for me. I've never been so far gone into a relationship that ended that I'm like lost for years and years and years. Maybe months and months, but not years.
Yeah, I've been there for months, but not that long. After a while, you just kind of you get tired of being.
Gotta
sad,
work through it, right? Yeah, no, you want to get back. I got to live my life. I can't just go around moping all the time, which is my default state, really. Anyway, but. Especially having a good reason, you got to push yourself out of that. I don't need an excuse to stay in bed all day.
Before this dream ends, after you kiss her or whatever, there was a quest that I personally had from nearly the beginning of the game. I don't know how, but when I was launching the game or whatever, I saw an achievement. And it was something about giving somebody a figurine.
Oh, boy. I don't know.
And I was like, oh, okay.
That's new.
Weird. Okay, cool. Early in the game, I found a figurine, multiple figurines, actually. One in a board game and one in another place. And you can get, one's a revolutionary man, like a musket soldier.
Yes,
and then the other one is a
shop.
sword, like a sword and shield, like knight riding a horse. So there's two different figurines. There is another part in the game where you're in the church and there is a huge mural, like a sort of stained glass mural to Dolores Day. And if you inspect it and go through the dialogue choices there is something about her holding her hand like this. And it looks like there is a man in her fingers, like she's holding on to a man representing her holding whatever. It's like a symbolic thing. And I'm like, okay, so she's holding the figurine. okay, how the fuck am I supposed to give Dolores Day a figurine? I don't. Hey, A, how am I ever going to meet her? B, a lot of other questions. So it comes up in the dream sequence that there is an option where I can give her a gift, and I'm like, hey, do you like this? Do you want this little figurine? Do you like this little guy? And she's like, what do I want with this? What do I want with this, Harry? I'm like, I don't know. Please take it. Please take it so I can get this achievement. Please. And then she takes it and I get the achievement and I'm like, I don't know why I did that. But I did.
Yeah, to check the box.
Yep. It didn't accomplish anything. I didn't get anything out of it. It just, there was something to do and I did it. And the game it encouraged me and enabled me to do it, even though I didn't know why I was doing it. And I felt like that was representative of a lot of the things in the game. Like when I was doing the, there's like a sort of airwave D&D mini quest. And I'm like, none of this matters. Why am I doing this? Because it's cool. It's interesting. Because it's, I don't know.
That was one of the side quests that I thought was very neat. Yeah, you get like a Rubik's Cube information cube that you get to put into a strange, not telephone computer thing, but it is. Like you said, and you have to listen to the radio program in order to play the game. It's almost like an ARG too. Like I guess like as you're playing it and listening, you can influence how it goes. It seemed like
update in real time.
Like somebody really
day.
tried. Right. It seemed really interesting. But also it seemed like it cost a lot of money to keep going and there was no money in this area at all. Pretty
yeah,
broke,
and another big part of that specific company is it seemed like there was a lot of feature creep too. There was like, okay, so here's what we want to do. Cool. Okay, but what if we also did this? Ooh, but what would be cool if we did this? Ooh, but what if we added in this? Ooh, okay, but what if we changed that first thing and added these couple of things onto it? It's like, okay, but now we're changing the first thing. It's like, yeah, but what if we improved that thing? It's like, can we finish the first thing first? It's like, yeah, but hold on, we have to add the new tires on. It's like, we don't even have the axles yet.
Yeah, they definitely were trying to get to the finish line of a product that needed to go through, like you were saying, let's get it out there first and see customer feedback of what we should improve on instead of trying to run with every grandiose idea, which put them in the poorhouse. You know, it's like, oh, let's dump money into this. No. Let's dump money into that. And now that I'm saying it out loud, it does remind me of, because I've seen some, Duke Nukem is one that comes to mind. I can't remember the subtitle to it, but it took like 15 years for the. Was it Forever? Where the two, yeah. So like they changed engines like 3 times, you know, like they never got anywhere to making the game. They would get like 25% into making this product and then scrap it and start over because like you say, oh, let's do this instead. Let's do that. Let's add this in. Let's make reference to that. Unreal 4 is coming out. Let's wait and hold off and start all over on Unreal 4. It's like, dude, you just wasted all that revenue on developing for Unreal 3. Now we got to can that.
You don't have any product to recoup it either, so it's just gone. Yeah, and that seems to what happened with Fortress Accident, which is the name of the company. So it just
that's what else I really like.
It was just like, oh, let's do this, and then it just got too big for its britches. The bigger company and the investors kind of just lost interest in it, and it kind of just faded into a passion project, and even those people stopped working on it, and it just kind of became like relegated to memories,
one dice maker,
sort of.
one custom dice maker who remembers what happened.
Yeah, and the lady who works at the repeater station who doesn't give a fuck about its existence. She just reads off a script and does her job.
Right, exactly.
Like, she sees a call from Fortress Accident and she's like, never heard of that. All right, Fortress Accident, this is the repeater station, blah, 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 blah. Here's the information. What's your information? She just immediately starts doing her job. No clue who that company is. It doesn't matter.
Right. I just want to get you back off the phone. I want to hang this up and go back to smoking my cigarette.
You tripped the computer. It's asking for a password. Either you give me the password or I'm locking you out of the system. That's the rules. It's like, crap. Can you give me a help with the password? No. Can I come back? Yes. Okay. I'll be back.
And that's a lot of side quests.
Is I'll be back. Yep.
I really enjoy. And that's when I don't think I really got back to it because I was going to finish it. So I can talk about the end. That last guy that we run into, I forget his name already now, with the black eyes and his rifle.
I don't know his first name, but his middle name is Lilianovich. It's like Lilian.
Right.
Lilianovich. It's like some
right.
Russian. It's like fake Russian name because the world takes place in like an alternate world, so it could be Russia plus this country plus this country plus this country, but that Russia happens to be in Australia, so it's very different. It's like okay, I like how they do their things because they combine a lot of different nationalities and feel.
You can't pin it down to just one thing. That's why, like in the first episode that when we were talking, it feels very Eastern European to me, like right in between where Russia is and where France and all that is. There's like all those countries in there, Poland, Belarus, Austria, Hungary, and all that stuff like that. That kind of get overlooked. They don't really have like if I say France, you can tell me French bread, what's the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah.
Or if I say Italy, pizza.
Yeah.
If I say, like what is in Belarus, the only thing I can think of is like that silly harp. There's a Belarusian harp. It's like a little table harp, but that's it, and Poland isn't known for that, like sausages, Polish sausages. Exactly. So, and that's exactly what has been going on in this fictional area. It seems very much like that. Like it's very war torn and disheveled and hadn't had a chance to build back up. And you're just this cop that's trying to keep things like this from happening. A union dock company that is too big for their britches, the Hardy Boys, who think they're so tough that they can take a murder rap and get away with it, versus the mercenaries that another company's hiring to, stir it up over there and try to gain control over a guy who's controlling a port city. There's just so many. There's the shanty town where there's homeless people and a couple of women hanging out. There's a couple of old other war vets who are playing bocce ball. They're just standing around playing a game. And then there's we finally make it to that island, our third lay of where we think a bullet came from. And then there's just this old guy sitting there in front of a fire holding his rifle. That's it.
And it's not even like, it's kind of anticlimactic. You go through his bunker, you do the nap, you wake up from the other dimension, you finally get over your ex, and then,
right.
you open a huge bulkhead to get to the other side of the bunker to, like, instead of just climbing through some debris and stuff, and then you walk out into this big open meadow, and then there's just a guy sitting there. He's got a rifle that's just kind of sitting up against his shoulder. He's just sitting next to a kind of burnt out fire, just chilling, and you're like, is this like a final boss fight? Like, what's happening here? You just walk up to him and he's like, what do you want? It's like, I would like to talk. I'm the police. Can I talk to you? And the whole situation is like, I was expecting him to be defensive. I was expecting something, but the fact that nothing happens and he just sits there and then you're even like, drop your gun. And he's like, okay. And drops his gun on the floor. And it's just like,
there's no bullets, he tells you.
It's like, okay, so what? Okay, so I'm just gonna question you. I'm just gonna standard procedure here. Do you know what happened over there? Do you know when this happened? Where were you at this time? And this man is very interesting. I'm gonna say, despite the fact that he's just kind of put in at the end of the game, I feel like he is very, very intriguing as. From beginning to end of the way you talk to him. His story is pretty simple and pretty sad. He was in the military. He was conscribed to fight for people he didn't really agree with. And then during the fight, he kind of abandoned the fight and then felt bad for abandoning the fight because a bunch of his brothers and friends and stuff died. And as penance for abandoning it, he decided to take their place forever.
Right.
So he deserted, got depressed that he deserted, and his friends died. and decided to be a permanent soldier. So now he's constantly, but kind of against. Maybe this just, I didn't, like, a comprehension issue. I couldn't tell what side he was on. I couldn't tell whether he was for the communists or against them. He definitely doesn't like anyone in Martinez, but it doesn't seem like he hates Revachol necessarily. He's very confusing to me politically, and I think that's the point, is you're not really supposed to know what his deal is. But maybe, again, that may have just been comprehension.
No, he does. He's very vague about it. He's definitely... Oh, I had to go fight for the ICM, which was the International Communists Mercenaries or something at the time, before the RCM, which is your, like what the police are called. They're the Revachol militia, blah, blah, blah. Anywho, I digress. He's like, I didn't want to fight for these people. Then they made me fight. And like you said, he defects. And it seems like he was fighting for communists against pure capitalists, maybe, but he had more of like a mixed bag, kind of like he didn't want either one of these people fighting, because I don't know if he wanted to take the best ideas from both, or if, like me, or like you had noticed, fuck them all. You know, it's like, I don't want to deal with any of these people, and then felt bad because people he cared about, who did care about that, ended up dying for their beliefs, and he defected on them. You know, it's like he left them sit there, you know, go fight on their own. And now, to make up for it, he's been on this island for,
I think he says 40 years.
43 years?
Yeah, something like 40-something years. Yeah.
And he definitely has an enemy, but it's not everyone. It's not Everett at the corporate top. It wasn't necessarily Joyce on the boat, but there are people in both of those things that he did not care for. Those mercenaries being probably
and
the top of that list. And
it's not even people specifically either. It's more like ideals and
right.
Like it isn't exactly how it's described or at all, but it seems like the man can see auras, and the auras he doesn't like, he just doesn't like them, and there doesn't have to be anything more than that. He sees somebody's and just like, you're one of the enemies.
Yep. They make a very heavy-handed point to say a couple times that his eyes are just jet black. There's like, I was led to think he was blind when I was talking to him, which, how the hell did he pull that shot off then? You know, if he can't see. But at the same time, he might just have been suffering from his own medical issues. Because they slip little things in there. He's coughing up blood. He's literally dying right then, and he wants to confess finally all of the things that he had done over the last 40 years, because this wasn't the first time he had done this. This is definitely not the first murder he had committed where he's still defending his dead comrades, so to speak. You know, like he's still taking up that war for them because they're gone. He saw Mr. Guy in a suit and shot him.
It seems like some of the time he's not even necessarily doing it at this point for them anymore. He's just doing it because he wants to. Whenever it finally gets to the point where you're questioning him about the mercenary, he doesn't really hold back. He just kind of says, I watched him die. It's like, yeah, but did you kill him? So
yes,
you kind of have to beat the actual words out of him up until the end. But he describes watching Classier and the mercenary do their thing. He talks about lining up the shot, and as they reach climax and he throws his head back, he throws the bullet into the guy. He talks about it very matter-of-factly, but also not directly saying, yeah, I killed him.
No, yeah, he's very detailed, but he doesn't necessarily implicate himself. But he gives you every detail from the bullet traveling the gun, entering the guy's head, to where his PP still is as he dies. You know what I'm saying? Like he gives it all to you. And then I did that. I pushed him. I was like, so you killed him? Like, to get him to say, yeah, I killed, and he still doesn't say, yeah, I killed him. He goes, what the fuck did I just say to you? You know, like I'm supposed to be reading between the lines even though he didn't outright say it, don't be stupid, you know what I'm saying. And then he's like, he wasn't, it was just work. He wasn't proud of it. He wasn't upset by it. He was just doing his job. And Kim was like, this is where I thought this is why I stopped. And you were like, no, keep playing. I stopped because I thought if I went back to Everett, I could get more evidence to shut the whole operation down from him. But it didn't go that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, nope, he's the killer. We got him. Your backup finally shows up, or your team finally decides to help you, and they don't really help you. You just kind of have to justify everything you've done for the past week to them.
But before you're finally able to get him to actually say,
he
doesn't. I mean, he doesn't say it directly. He gets to as close to saying, "Yes, I did it," without saying, "I pulled the trigger and murdered that guy, and this is why I did it." You get the confession out of him as close as he's willing to do it. At the very end of the conversation is when the cryptid will show up. If you've done the all the prerequisites of it, this will be the one chance you really have to get it. You have to pass some greater checks and then some smaller checks, like your perception or whatever, just to be able to see it. And then you get all the dialogue with the cryptid, and Kim can take a picture of it. And then you go back to talk to the old man, and he's just he's completely catatonic now. It's like his mind has been like erased, basically. As you talk a little bit with Kim, it seems like maybe he was kind of being communed through, possessed sort of by the phasmid. There's something going on with the phasmid and this guy, and the how close a proximity. It may have been like a chemical thing, because clearly he's fucked up now that thing left.
Right.
Maybe he had a chemical dependency on it, and now he's not, and now he's like on the come down from it. Who knows? But it seemed like there was a very big link between those two things, and Kim you two make a kind of a point of noticing that. With nothing left to do except for find the armor, if you didn't already just do that, which is laying right there in the ocean. You just kind of wrap up and you head back on the boat, and you have to head back to the mainland, because you don't have any gear or anything to transport this man, and he's now zombie mode, so he's not going anywhere, he's not doing anything. He's also bleeding out and dying, and he hasn't left in 44 years other than to stalk around town and be a creep, because apparently that's what he does. He'll occasionally swim or row to town with his little raft, and then be a creep. He was the one creeping up in Classier's room. He was one of the souls out in the yard. He's been creeping around the apartments. There's been like very, very subtle nods throughout the game of this man's existence, and then he just kind of just tells you, oh, that was me, this is me, I was here, I saw Classier, this, I saw this. Oh yeah, and I also really liked Classier, but I can't be with her, so I'm kind of sad about that, but I got over it.
Yeah, no, he does that, the same style of angry dude where, she's banging the mercenary and he just can't take it. He's just like, well, fuck that whore. Like, he literally just says, I shot that whore, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's just so upset about it. But like you said, would you cut that out? Sit down. He was spying. He was peepholing her. He was hiding in the back. It's like, come on, man.
Total creep.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, exactly. So, I feel a little less bad for him. I know he didn't have like the greatest life or anything. And it also gets kind of semi-alluded to that maybe the cryptid also, if it wasn't because you make that suggestion that maybe there was a codependency. And I think Kim is kind of more matter of fact. He's like, I was probably just, stress of seeing some monster that nobody knew existed. Like just, put him out. But yeah, no, it's when you go, when you can say that, oh, maybe there was something to that he was being influenced by a giant stick monster. Because who knows where that's what I really like. It's like, you don't know. We can speculate on it for, how many playthroughs and what happens.
before we finally get off the island, as we're heading off of it, there are some plants that are around the island that seem to only grow on the island. There was a check very early in the game when I was first talking to Classier up on her balcony, and there's some flowers on her balcony, and just during one of the dialogue, the wind rustles and the flowers blow away, and you can make like a reaction speed, whatever check to grab them out of the air, and I missed. And the flowers blew away, and I was like, damn it. Kim, why didn't you catch those? Whatever. I was like, why did I not catch those? And Kim's like, it's fine. Not every clue is a clue. Not everything matters. It's fine. And it's amazing to me that he's wrong all the time.
Turns
Kim,
out
every single thing is real. Everything's real. Everything matters. Okay, the developers of the game wouldn't have put it in the game if it didn't matter. Kim, okay, shut up, Kim. You don't know.
But see, yeah, that's it. And that was one of the checks that I did pass. And as you're grilling the old man about if he did it or not, that's one of the things of evidence that you can present to him. Is like, I got these flowers that were on her balcony, and he goes, "Fucking things, they grow everywhere." And you're like, "No, they don't. They grow right around here only." And there was another one too. Oh, you could check the bottom of the old man's boots, and they kind of match, but they kind of don't match. And you're like, "Yeah, but he could have changed his shoes." And he's like, coming up with excuses.
I like how that
you know what I mean? Like he's trying
kind of to it. It's like, oh man, he could be odd soul. We don't know. And it's like, what if he has more than one pair of shoes? It's like, fuck. What if somebody has more than one pair of shoes? We never even thought of that.
Right, and it does. It all starts, funneling in, and all of those, a lot of little things that, if you were paying attention, there was another person outside of everything. Ruby was a red herring. Titus was a red herring. There's another one that I can't quite think of off the top of, but like you're following all these other leads that do seem like potential, problems for that mercenary, and everybody has a motive aside from the guy who we find out actually did it, has the most generic motive,
least reason. I don't like it because it's not like satisfying. But I love that, like, the writing of the game for that, because, like you said, there's multiple characters that the game really does a good job of being like, that's the motherfucker. You need to just prove it's that guy, and you've got it. You, the player, you're smart, you figured it out. Now you just have to get your character to prove it. And it's like, okay, I can do this. And then you get to that thing, and then you're like, yeah, I'm not so sure anymore. I'm pretty sure Ruby had nothing to do with this, and she just likes drugs.
Right. Well, and that's it. As more evidence comes to light, you're like, you really start building the case. And you and I both, minimal information going in. Very minimal. Like, I seen the first scene when he wakes up, and that was it. That was like all I really knew. I knew it was a more traditional style role-playing game with dice rolls. And the difference with pen and paper and a book, like save scumming or trying to re-roll, if you're you're cheating yourself. When you're doing it in the game, I still feel like I'm not cheating myself as much because the game is like, no, it's not me rolling the dice. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bit of a disconnect. When I'm rolling the dice, I know I'm skipping to the part of the book that I just want to skip to. When I'm playing the game, I'm trying to steer the outcome because I don't know where else we're going. And it's much more satisfying with Disco Elysium than pen and paper could ever be. There's a lot there. There's so much that, like, little subtle things that change where you go and how you look at it. Because, like you said, if you don't pass certain checks, you don't get any. Well, you don't get the cryptid part of the ending. That just it literally, here's the ending, and then you did that part, so you get this too. Like it literally steers you right off.
It's just like a straight bonus ending.
Bit. Right, and I think there's probably more things that I missed. Like you bought the games and stuff, and you got to give Doris the figurine, and you got an achievement out of that. There was a couple of little things that I just kind of did, and it was like, oh, secret task found. I was like, yay. You know, I didn't know that I was just doing them.
Completed a secret task. It felt good. One I didn't find in the first one that I did in the second playthrough is the nice lady in the wheelchair in the Whirling in Rags. At the beginning of the game, depending on how you interact with her, you can be really friendly or less than friendly with her. And after apologizing to her for almost killing her, I asked her for some money because I'm a fucking scumbag and I need some money, okay? This guy wants $100 so I can stay here tonight, okay? I need $100, please. Can I have some money?
I thought that's...
And she tells me, oh, I don't have any money, but you can have this pin and you can try to pawn it. And I'm like, thanks, I guess. Cool. And I take her pin and I'm like, all right, cool. I inspect it, look at it. I'm like, okay, cool. And I talk to her about the pin and then I go take it to the pawn shop. And then the guy's like, oh, this is like a historic pin and this is where it came from and this is why it's significant. I'll give you $1.10 for it. And he's like, what? He's like, it should be $1, but I'm giving you 10 cents because of this reason. And it's like, I'm just gonna take this back to her. So I was just like, it's not worth the dialogue tree of pawning the 1.1. It's not gonna buy me anything. I can't even get cigarettes with these. So I just walked back to her.
$3.
Yeah, I just walked back to her and I'm like, hey, here's that pin of yours. And she's like, oh, it's good to see it again. You can have it back. I'm not gonna pawn it. And she's like, I'll be honest, I'm really happy to see it again. And I was like, well, I'm really happy that I didn't pawn it because A, it was worthless, and B, I would have felt bad about it. So fuck you.
Yeah, no kidding.
She's the only one in the entire game that was managed to make me feel anything about asking them for money. I don't know how she was able to do that. Because she's a sweet old lady? I don't know.
That's it. That's right there. As she guilted you with the gray hair. That's exactly right. She was being a sweet old cripple in her little wheelchair.
So that was my secret task, is give her back her pin. Because I guess one of the ways you can do it is you can pawn it, and then you can promise her to get it back, and then later on you can go pay money to unpawn it and give it back to her. But since I never pawned it, I just gave it right back to her. It was a secret task. Give her her pin back. And I said, oh, okay, cool. I feel good for doing that. I don't feel good for taking it, but I feel good for giving it back.
For returning it, yeah. That's great. And there was a couple of them like that. I think I put gas in a generator. It was like, oh, secret task, get the generator started. Because I had already had fuel on me. And I think that you can go outside and find a fuel tank in the sniper's nest and you come back and use that fuel. So like since I kind of jumped the line, it was like, oh, 30 extra points for you. I was like, okay, great. I'll take them. Yeah, that was my favorite thing was side questing for sure, because there's just the world is so it's fleshed out. There's people around, they're doing things, they all have their own little intricate life, and it's not like how Cyberpunk was like, oh, you can follow an NPC and watch them do their daily tasks. It was these people are already embedded. You know, you see an older woman reading a book because that's what she does, and then you get in a conversation with her, and her husband's missing. And it turns out he fell through a hole on a dock and bashed his head open. And, it just, something so simple that could happen or not happen.
To anyone.
Walking, right. Right. And the ending being anticlimactic is almost in line with all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it was this old kook with his war rifle hiding in the woods.
Everything has a suit. Not everything is like a ninja from space killing you with a magical assassin bullet. It's a guy who's so fucked in his head and has been living on an island for 40 years, had a crush on some girl that he's been stalking around town, saw her fucking a mercenary, didn't like the mercenary because of his political beliefs, found some sort of justification in killing that guy, and just did a random murder. There is
right, and that's exactly. It's right. He's seen a guy in that uniform. He's like, that just set him off. He's like, I'll take care of this, and then he did. And it's the circumstances surrounding it that make it so interesting.
Right, the fact that it's being covered up, the people that are fighting over it. Yeah, there's so much going on.
People are hiding and acting guilty. Right. It meant something to more than the guy that actually committed it. Because of who it was, and Yeah, the tribunal can go bad, but it could have really escalated if you weren't even investigating. There could have been a full out riot, like, or all of the dock workers just get killed and replaced by, what was the company's name? Pinewood, I think.
Wild Pines.
Wild Pines, that's it. So, and because I think they were looking to take over Everett's business from him, like they wanted to. He wanted
to bust the union and have full control over it, so they could fire people willy-nilly. The people wouldn't have say over board elections, blah blah blah. Because one of the big things that they were striking about is they want every single worker to be able to vote on things.
To vote, right?
Yeah. So they said,
apologize.
Like their whole thing is every worker is a member of the board, and if you can't comply with that, then you don't have workers.
And that's a bit, in my opinion, it's a bit of a ridiculous ask.
That's the good thing, and it's the good thing and the bad thing of the union. The union can ask for things and has the ability to pull weight to make it happen. But sometimes they can ask for too much, and then the company can say no, and then they have to suffer that consequence too.
I was going to say, yeah, it would be nice if the bag boy at the grocery store has a say, but really, he doesn't necessarily need to have a say. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need to worry that far down the list. Although suggestions should be listened to, because he might have, we could get rid of paper bags and just use plastic and save the company $100,000 a year, or something like that. But yeah, it's very complicated. It's a very layered game, and it's interesting, and it's mundaneness sometimes. Like there's containers to look through, there's people to talk to, and it's everyday conversations. You throw an old man's fucking ball into the ocean and he gets mad at you, and you try to replace it with something else, and he's like, this isn't it, dude. Go away. He gets upset because you ruined his game that he had been playing all on his own. You didn't even need to talk to him. You could have just left him alone and not even tried to coax him out of a bite of his sandwich or anything, just like really silly stuff. And again, like, I think you can push with the cryptid, or there might be a monster in this event. We don't know. It turns out it's actually a person, that kind of thing. Or a ghost in the machine.
And I think the game does a great job of keeping all of those things going at, like, there's multiple threads at all times, and it makes you feel like there's so much to do, and also constantly you're like, what am I doing? And I kind of like that, like, wanderness feel, because I imagine that's what it's like really trying to solve a case, where you're like, okay, I have a couple things that I need to do, but I can't do any of them yet, so I need to figure out something else to do until I can do those things, because I don't know how to do those things yet.
Right, especially if you're trying to talk to a witness. I feel like the game does
a great job of keeping all of that until the very end, and is able to... There's a lot of, like, RPGs, and even ones we covered on this show, where the game ends, and it's like, cool, here's some screenshots of what happens after the game. This guy went and did this mission, this guy got married to this guy, and your hero went on to do some nothing. It's like, oh, cool, wow, I got to see a bunch of JPEGs, awesome. And that can be good in some ways, because they really try to wrap up all the loose ends, even in a not so satisfying way, but at least they try to wrap it up and let you know what happened to John the farmer. In this game, I feel like they do it in a perfect way, because it's perfectly logical, and it makes sense that this is what would happen and when it would happen. So you get on the boat, and you wrap up on the bunker, you head back across, and as you mentioned, your team from the precinct, who you've seen around town, if you've been investigating every nook and cranny every day, you've seen them at least once or twice. They're just kind of sitting there waiting for you. Not necessarily there to help you, but they are there, and they just happen to be the people you need to see, because you need some more police to go get this murder guy. So you get onto the beach, and you start talking to them, and everyone's kind of had it up to here with you, just in general. Just everybody's kind of done with you. Even Kim can be done with you up to this point, depending on how you play your character. And it comes to the point where your partner, not Kim, your actual partner, Harry's guy he works with at the precinct. He confronts him and it's like, all right, Harry, you're done fucking running around. And we're here to bring you back to the station. Blah, 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 blah. It's at this point where the game officially kind of wraps up and every choice you've made is kind of like laid out to you, because Kim, if he's there, will start like sort of defending you and being like, yes, Harry is kind of insane, but he's also a good cop. And here's are some of the good things he's done. And also, you know, these are some of the things that he's solved. And while you and Kim are kind of trying to plead your case of why you're not a horrible cop who shouldn't be shot in the head right now, your other Precinct 41 members are kind of not really shit-talking you, but they're kind of presenting the negative evidence to you in a bad light to make you look worse than you currently do, which is totally fair based on how you've treated everybody over the last 6 years, based on what you've said and what the game has said, you know?
Well, and in early conversations with those characters, I was extra rude to them because they were seemingly the male character that is there. He's definitely not happy with what's going on with what you're doing. The lady cop seems a little more sympathetic to you because a lot has happened, and they have like a psychologist there. No, he's a neurologist. He's a brain guy. He's like, I'm only here because they asked me to be here, and I'll make my assessment based on what I hear. And the male cop character, he starts chastising, you lost your gun, you lost your badge, the car's in the ocean. Yeah,
they're doing like an impromptu of their own tribunal of you. It's like, hey,
it's intervention.
How did you fucking finish this case right now? Like, do you tell us how you got there? And if it's not good, it's not gonna be good.
Well, no, I went all egghead on and I was like, yeah, I'm a rock star cop, baby. That's what I do. And they were not happy about all that. But then, like you said, Kim backs you up. You know, he's like, well, despite the way he's acting right now, he did do this, that, and he found a guy who had been hiding for 40 years. That's pretty cool. And he may have discovered a new species. You know, like, they're like, what? Wait, what? And then you show them the picture, and they're like, what the fuck is this? You know? And it changes their tone just a little bit once they see a photograph of a weird cryptid.
I restored a church and made it a glorious nightclub.
Oh, yeah.
I cut out a drug trade. Like, I've been doing stuff, okay? I got a girl. I got a girl and a young boy to kind of stop fighting with each other. I got a graffiti artist around town. Yes. I got her some money and recognition, and now she's a little bit more famous. Like, come on, I did a lot of good on my arguable rampage to the city.
Real quick, with Cindy. Cindy was the one who did the graffito. Did she paint after the tribunal? Was there the square? Was it painted with red letters and you can throw your cigarette on them?
Yes.
Okay. That did happen to me. I thought that was cool because it straight up asked you, "Was like, you want to throw your lit cigarette on this and set it on fire?" And I was like, "Yep."
Of course.
And then you get that little animated
really
scene.
Slow zoom out with some music. It's really beautiful. It's a nice scene. It's poetic, which I think is her point.
Right. I skipped it. Oh yeah, that's it. I was like, I set up a church with a nightclub and a drug running scam, and then Kim's like, no, you didn't do that. You know, like he was straight up like that. Don't confess to that. What are you doing? Shh. Yeah, we helped out the nightclub, but the drug thing, no. Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, my bad. I didn't say that part. Okay. But if you're doing well and you're helping out the side quests, it does make you look better to your higher ups. If it resolves relatively on the positive side, I guess you would say.
All of this is to kind of decide whether or not Harry's going to keep his job. We mentioned that at the end of the game, that's kind of the binary ending of the game, is whether or not Harry gets to be a policeman anymore. And it is a little disappointing that that's kind of the only real two endings of the game, but there's so much other stuff going on in the game that despite the fact that it's that small of an ending, it won't matter, because there's so much you've done, and this dialogue will change depending on every choice you've made throughout the game. If you decided not to help the church, it won't even come up. If you decide to do that with other, there's, like I said, it's sort of the like RPG ending where it's like, and this happened, except it's not telling you what happened tomorrow. It's like, this is all the stuff we've done, and this is how it made an impact and why it's important. And I feel like that's a little bit of a better culmination ending than being like 2 weeks later.
Right. More to your point, like with the Outer Worlds or New Vegas, you get a JPEG ending, and it explains what happens to each faction and how the decisions you made up until that point, how it affects the characters as they go on. This is solely based on you trying to keep your job. And the bar is a little higher than I think it is, but it's at least 3 or 4 things. If you net positive a few things, they see that you're trying to not be a total shithead all the time, that you do have problems, but you are solving cases.
Yeah, remember like a decade ago when I used to be like a legendary cop that solved like 200, 300 cases, and, I was like a superstar. I'm trying to be that guy again. I erased my brain, and I'm building a new one, and I hope it's a good one. Please give me a chance.
In a nutshell, right there, that's it. You basically fried your brain and deleted everything up until that point. You know a lot of the things and how they made you feel, and even though you don't remember exactly how the memory was, you remember the feeling that the memory gave you, and you can kind of operate a little more clear-headed because you're not remembering every little detail. You're just like, okay, that's a bad thing, I'll stay away from it. Or that's a good thing, that's what I like, I'll go that direction. Harry Dubois is a mangled mess of a character. It starts out the same, it ends the same, but there is so many different journeys you take from point A to point Z. You get to explore a lot of personality traits and political ideologies through this guy. It's a lot of fun. Sorry.
No, I think you're absolutely right. The ending of the game is like I said, it's a great culmination of everything you've done so far, and I feel like something that really hit me at the very end was depending on your relationship with him, obviously, and whether he's there, you have the option to recruit Kim to your precinct. He's kind of been on the fence about his precinct anyway. He doesn't necessarily like how he's treated and respected there. Your precinct is kind of in the capital of Jamrock, so it's kind of like a little bit of a move up for him. Plus, at this point, he kind of likes you, and he thinks that he probably should stick with you anyway, because it's probably safer for all of humanity.
Right. I agree.
So you kind of ask him, like, hey, do you want to join us and, be Precinct 41's finest instead of 57?
Right, and they do. If you're a fan of movies or buddy cop movies, like, I say buddy cop, but it's usually a 1-2 kind of thing where there's like with Harry, he's a little bit over the top. He does silly stuff, but Kim has a straight face the entire time. So, okay. Like he's just letting you do your thing. The comparison I can make a little bit is like Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in the first Men in Black. Tommy Lee Jones is just the by the book alien capturing guy. We do a job and that's it. Where Will Smith is trying to make it about style and he wants a big gun, and Tommy Lee Jones hands him the cricket. I feel like Kim would do something like that to Harry. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you want a gun? Here. And then hand him like, a Derringer or something. What am I supposed to do with this? He's like, you get what you get, because Kim's your straight man. He's keeping you in line. He's going to keep you in line later on. And so him joining the precinct is, a nice little cherry on top that you get to keep your buddy. That you do. I did, or at least I did. I started to feel for the guy. He's like half babysitting me and keeping me reined in, but at the same time telling me that these little flowers don't mean anything, when in fact it places the guy at the scene. If you pass the check. And that was when I did. And as you're interrogating the old man, that's one of the things I like, these, these flowers, this bullet, those footprints, that breathing on the window, I saw it all, and then he's like, yeah, okay, moron, you got me. Basically he's just, that's the confession. He's like, all right, fine, you got enough. It's all circumstantial, but I'm done and dying anyway. I really don't care.
I think I might rather die in a prison than here on this beach. So maybe.
Exactly. He might get medical help before, a little nicer than freezing out in a remote island, abandoned barracks, that kind of thing.
So, how do you feel the game concluded?
I do agree, yes, it is semi-anticlimactic, but again, I think that's part of the point. It's supposed to be, okay, this is how it ends, just smooth sailing, just get out of there. But as you go through the game, it's ups and downs. I did like how they did that. Like you said, it gives you basically a report card of how you did, but it doesn't say, oh, you passed or failed. It says you did this and that, and it could be good or bad. And you're being judged by your own precinct. And if you were a shithead to everybody and you were doing dumb stuff the whole game, you might not get to be a cop at the end of it. That's why I'm definitely, like you said, there's so many more playthroughs just to see where it goes. Especially as waking up as an amnesiac disco cop. What did you think of the ending? How did you like it?
When I first did it, I was disappointed in it because, A, the game was ending, and B, because I felt like I was expecting kind of another showdown. Like the tribunal was such a big climax, and like I was panicking and feeling so much during it. I re-rolled it a couple times. I had to come back to it a day later to handle it. Like there was a lot going on in that. And then the end of the game to just be like, oh, hey, it was also just this guy. And and right. Now that you figured it out, game's over. And it's like, there's no more game. I can't go talk. I can't go thank Kuno for all his help. There's no wrap up at all. But that's just
was something that bothered me.
But that's just because I was trying to compare it, I think, to other things and being like, what did I want? What did this? But if I'm just taking it at face value, I think you're absolutely right. The feeling that I'm feeling is exactly what the intention was. I felt exactly how I was supposed to feel from beginning to end. I felt confused and apologetic at the beginning. I felt confident and egotistical in the middle, and I felt absolutely on fire, like I was solving shit and I was hot bananas at the end when I was just passing checks like nothing. I had gear to handle anything. It really felt like that, and then at the end for it to just be like, but that's life sometimes, and I feel like even though it's not like the feeling that maybe I expected or was looking for or whatever, the fact that it didn't give me that is exactly what the game was trying to communicate with me. It's, you don't always get what you want. Sometimes things just end, and that's the end of it.
Right. And there's no end game. Like you said, you don't get to go back and talk to Kuno. You don't get... And that's what tricked me, is I gained 2 levels. I was able to... While talking to the old man, I cleared 3 tasks. So, I got 200 points. So I had 2 more points. So I thought there was more. I was like, oh, I better stop now. And you're like, no, dude. You got about 11 minutes left in this game. You better go find out how you did. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, because I felt like there should have been you take the boat to just the island.
One more. Right. And I felt like there was going to be one more chapter, but there wasn't. It was straight epilogue. Okay, yeah, we know you made a drug den in the church. We know you did this. We know you helped find that other guy who hurt himself and you made his wife feel better. But does that really attribute you to being a good cop? And then Kim goes, well, he did find the bullet. He did find the trajectory. He did talk to every suspect that was involved. The guy made 2 comments. One was about me being dressed up in the tracksuit, because I was head to toe tracksuit. He's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you dressed like that? Who are you trying to impress?
Me?
And then he wasn't...
Have you never seen a Fallon tracksuit? Oh, you're just jealous.
Right, exactly. And then he was like, yeah, you blew the tribunal. He was like, you got 6 people killed and you barely got out of that alive. And my response to that was like, you were sitting right there and watched me do all of it when you could have intervened. Why didn't you? And he didn't have much to say to that. I think I was like, oh, basically you threw me to the wolves. And he's like, we're just here to observe. I'm like, no, you're here to judge. You could have stopped. This was other people's lives, so there wasn't that forethought in that from him. He was just providing his function. Whether or not do I get to be a cop? And I blew the tribunal, but I did well enough in other aspects that they were like, that wasn't, I think Kim was like, there was no controlling that situation. That wasn't one person's fault because of what I said. It was,
and also,
there was it was a powder keg.
If we want to get some actuallys in here, that tribunal had nothing to do with the murder case.
Right. It was, yeah, exactly. I had nothing to do.
Like if I didn't walk around the corner at the time that was happening, if I would have stopped at the pawn shop and talked to Roy for a couple of hours instead of going down the street,
right,
I wouldn't have even been involved in that.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. Because it was Joyce and Everett who were trying to keep you involved with their shenanigans, and yeah, you just happened to walk into it. I forgot about that because it's like, all right, let's go back to the Whirling and Rags and see what's going on. And there's just the other mercenaries show up finally to take their vengeance on Titus and them because they believe that it was Titus. And they were walking around saying they did it. They're guilty. So the mercenaries believe them. Yeah, we're going to fuck you up for it now.
Saying you did it is a very good way to get people to believe that you did it, unless you're like a known liar.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Hello, dog.
And with the end of the game, you get kind of a credits roll. It doesn't really tell you what happens after the end of the game because that doesn't exist. It hasn't happened yet. It doesn't matter. It hasn't happened yet. Except however you want to think about it. The only thing that mattered is solving the case, and you did it. And
right.
I've seen a couple of videos online because obviously my algorithm is pumped full of Disco Elysium because of how much I've been playing it over the last 2 months. I've seen videos like, what is Disco Elysium even about? And okay, like if you're asking like from a general standpoint, it's a cop game. Like you wake up as a cop and you have to solve a murder, and when you solve the murder, the game's over. But if you want to get way more into it, then, there's now 6 hours of us talking about this game because there is so much to this game outside of just that simple premise. Yeah, the plot keeps you going the whole time. And if you weren't a cop, I feel like this game could still tell an awesome story if you were just put in a different perspective. But because you're a cop, you have authority, you have reason, you have objective, you have mission, you have all of this reason to be doing things. And I feel like that simple game design choice, I don't know at what point it was made, but I feel like changes everything. Because if you weren't a cop doing all this shit, you would have been killed by Measurehead.
Right. Oh, yes, definitely. That was especially him, because you do not.
He would have just thrown you off the top of that thing and watched your neck snap in half.
Yeah, he's another one who definitely makes sure to comment on your physique or lack thereof, and and how useless you actually are to humanity. Yeah, that's. This game is very self-aware, I think, in like what kind of game is it? What I would just, it's not just a role-playing game as you're role-playing a cop solving a murder. It does want to try to teach you some things, but it doesn't do it in like a ham-fisted way. It gives you all of the options. It doesn't say that this is better than that. It explains what these communist people were doing in this part of town, what these capitalists were like in this part of town, what these socialists are trying to achieve fighting these communists. Like, because they're similar, but they're not. You can learn a lot, but it's only surface level. So if, like you said, this game will be as deep as you make it. Same thing with your real life. It'll be as deep as you make it. You can get into politics and how people do, or why people do things they do. Or you can be a cryptid person and go fill locust traps and hopefully maybe you catch a ghost or an animal. Or you can be a total shithead and just go get drunk all the time. Really, like this, I got chastised for that. I took one sip of alcohol on like the second day. I bought wine because it was like, oh, find some alcohol. Thanks, Ty. That stupid Ty. Yeah, the Ty tricked me into it. And the same with the cigarettes. It was like, smoke a cigarette if you want to, and I was like, well, I smoked a few because it raises your, I want to say it raises your intellect. It raises either your perception or your intellect, or one of those things goes up by a point, but you do take 1 point of damage to your health every cigarette.
And the buff lasts pretty long, so you can get multiple things done usually while under the influence.
Specifically with the cigarette too, because I know I did that one a couple times, and it lasted at least 3 conversations, which is a few hours game time.
I started doing alcohol at the beginning of the game because I needed stat boosts, and then I didn't like how it was affecting my character, so I was just like, alcohol kind of got me into all these problems, so maybe I should quit it. So I eventually got the thought to quit alcohol, but I never invested enough time into it to actually do the quitting alcohol thought. But my character was addicted. Once I took cigarettes and I realized, holy shit, these stat boosts. Anytime there was a conversation, I was like, hold on a second.
Let me smoke one.
Yeah. Okay, let's think.
And it does. It helps with all the passive checks too. Like it'll say easy or medium sometimes. More show up when I'm smoking. That's for sure. Yeah, this game is. It tries to make you aware of who you are too while you're playing. I think. Because we both did that. Like, what would I do or what would Harry do? Is there a middle ground option? Should I just go for the I'm a fucking crazy person option? Because sometimes I did. It was just like the silly answer was too much for me to ignore.
Right, yeah. Sometimes there would just be like 5 options, and it would be like, oh yeah, 4 of those are exactly what I would say. And then this one just like compliments how his shoes don't match. It's like, I was thinking that, so I am gonna say that.
Right, and I encourage it is encouraged to play this game multiple times. 6 or 7 playthroughs for sure. They should all be somewhat different. You're gonna have a few beats here and there that are gonna, like you said, the tribunal and the ending happen. But I think there's a few things that can really. It's a journey game. It's not a destination game. Where I feel like Fallout or Outer Worlds, or even with Prey, there's a destination I'm trying to get to get the ending. Here, I'm not playing for the ending. I'm playing for
the experience.
Right, and see what, because there's so many good characters. Like we mentioned, Egghead and Kuno and Kuno's girlfriend, Measurehead. Like these people stick out, because they're just so extreme. Especially Kuno, because he's just like this little, I don't give a shit. This little, I put a clip in the Discord where this Limmy is like a sketch comedy guy from Ireland, Scotland, somewhere in there. And he meets Kuno for the first time, and he's just, at a certain point, he's like, who hurt you? Come on, Kuno, you could tell me, man. Who did this to you? Who made you this way? Because he's such a little shit, and you're like, what happened? And the more you talk to him, you find out his dad was probably kicking him around, and nobody's paying any real attention to him. He has the run of the whole town, and I'm glad you found it out, because that's one of the things that leaked out to me was you can recruit Kuno to help you solve the case, and I didn't know how to exactly. I thought maybe if I punch him, he'll respect me more, because you can punch him in the gut.
No, it seems like the determining factor is failing the check during the tribunal and getting Kim sent.
Okay, it can go much worse than it did for me. Everybody almost died except Kim and myself. So yeah, it was a 3-on-3 trade, and that was probably the biggest blunder check fail type of thing that I went through.
The tribunal, I think that's meant to be, because like I said, I save scummed it. I tried it multiple times. I even readjusted my gear, and I still felt like I got a bad ending, and I think that's the point of it. Because the best ending is still 3 people die. It's like 3 people do not need to die. That's the best possible outcome is 3 people die. Fuck.
And right, and more to that point where it's you're not going to bend the game to what you want. You're getting this. You're getting some things that just are not. Yeah, it just didn't turn out the way you thought, and maybe it was a little anticlimactic. Sorry, it's not. The cake is a lie ending where you're like, oh, look at you finally did all the things and the thing, blah blah blah. It's we found him. Turns out he was just an old guy who might be somewhat not there anymore, and maybe a giant stick bug was involved. We're not sure yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really love this game. It was a lot more fun than I thought it would be, and I probably should have played it a whole lot more than I did. But for the same reasons, like I just don't want to. I don't want to get through it too much and then be completely done with it. Like if I never finish it, it's always still on my plate. If it's just there, not finished, I'll come back to it. And
I'll encourage you to pick it up next time I do, because I'm going to sit on it for a handful of months, and whenever I get the itch, I'm sure I'll go back to it and do another playthrough or restart the one that I'm on right now or whatever. But before we wrap for this episode, I do want to sort of give a shout out and also a comment. From the first Disco Elysium podcast episode, we got somebody on the Discord. Their username is Classy is Lost. They're also Classy is Lost on YouTube. They made a video about Disco Elysium that is, I 100% Disco Elysium and I regret it, and this is why. And you were mentioning that, this is a game that you could do multiple playthroughs of and something you would like to, and, being able to explore all the options and things. His video covered the fact that he did go through and he did a 100% guide and did multiple playthroughs, including save scumming and weird, obscure things just to get a couple of checks to get all the achievements. And described it in his video. He said that he regretted it because it kind of sucked the soul out of Disco Elysium, and that is what the whole game is about. It's about its soul. It's about you and Harry experiencing that sort of bond that only a video game character and the player can experience. And if you're going through and just checking things, then A, you're taking out any sort of mystery and discovery, and you're also robbing yourself of any sort of enjoyment out of it because you're not experiencing it. You might as well have just watched a video of somebody else doing it and then just run a batch file to give yourself all the achievements. I totally get what he meant by that, where like this is one of those games that it would be cool to 100%, but it would absolutely destroy the game. It removes the mystique. Like there's no more, you've done everything in the game, so now you know how it works. And because like I've mentioned a couple of times, I still have this ethereal fascination with it, where maybe there is more of a ghost story, or maybe there is more little side quests that I didn't discover because I was, not answering or not treating a character the way that it would get me down that path. Especially with the shop owner. I know I got into the back of the store and investigated her problem. But I think there was more there. Or with the little girl out front, there was a side quest there that I didn't quite. I got it right away, but then totally forgot about it until she wasn't there anymore. I was like, oh fuck, Mm-hmm. I do want to see as much as I can, but at the same time, I agree. Maybe I shouldn't. I'll come back to it every so many months, so that way I'm not rerunning it in my brain. You don't want to gorge yourself on it, because then you won't like the taste of it anymore. Exactly, and there's a lot to bite off and chew here. There's a lot of things you can just kick around in your own mind, especially as an American, we don't deal with a lot of these things on a daily basis like some people do. I don't walk outside and see a war-torn city that I live in. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that I've never had to deal with my entire life.
knock on wood, that there isn't soldiers trying to, quarter in my house because they need to hide somewhere. I'm like, okay. So, it really makes me think about how I grew up too, versus like you don't want to overdose on this game. That's for sure. I'll leave it at that. You don't want to overdose on Eastern European depression.
No, absolutely not. I want to thank you again for joining us for the second part of the Disco Elysium podcast episode. We always close our episodes with 2 quick segments. One of them is, what was your favorite part of the second half of Disco Elysium? After the tribunal, you woke up. That's where we left off last time. So anything kind of after that point, what would you say was your favorite thing experiencing?
It was the cryptid showing up. I didn't think that was going to happen. I had no idea that was going to happen. And like, my intuition and my perception and all that was so high. All those checks were literally in the either 70-something% above and above. And so I was like, let's do it. And they just kept rolling green for me. And I was like, oh. And then it was when I asked Kim, I was like, do you see that? And and it's 4 words, I see it too. And then I was like, oh, like my jaw hit the ground. Yeah, exactly that. It was like, oh, he sees it, it's real, because for that whole time, he is so straight-laced. And he's like, I'm like, get the camera. He's like, okay, I'll take the picture. And he takes a picture, and then the picture resolves. And you're like, it's there in the picture too. So it wasn't like a shared hallucination. We got physical proof. We saw Bigfoot for intents and purposes. You know what I'm saying? So like, that was probably my favorite moment, that it literally just took a left. I was like, shh, to me, I'm talking to the guy. There's something over there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm literally trying to get this,
because you're facing right towards the guy, and then to the left, there's just, oh shit, there's a monster.
And I'll be honest, I didn't see it at first. My character noticed it before I even noticed it graphically. That's how well blended I felt it was in the reads. Like, I didn't even see it move up and down until like a couple of dialogues later, and then I saw it move. Like, it reaches for you. And I was like, oh, shit, because then you can highlight it.
It's a really good character model.
Yeah, I really liked it. And that was my favorite moment. There's a number of moments that will stick with you, but like, of course, like, because I'm very much a skeptic, and I was very happy that they were like, screw your skepticism, we're going to put this in here anyway. Like, it just made it more fun to me. And like you said, you're only cheating yourself. If I was doing it paper pen style, you feel that cheating more versus trying to 100%
if you're playing
this
like
game.
D&D and you cheat a dice roll, you're like, yeah, I did that, but I know I cheated that, and I probably ruined something. But it doesn't feel good. And
I think that's what the 100%ing of the game does to you. It makes you want to get it, but it doesn't make you feel good.
All right. My favorite part of the second half of this game, I'm just gonna say it. My first answer was Kim, and I wanted to say Kim again because he's just the best part of the game. But I'm gonna say it more abstract answer. The things I didn't see, the things I haven't experienced yet. Right before we started the show, I was reading something about going up to the tribunal, and there is a way to make a Molotov cocktail. You can bring a Molotov cocktail to that fight.
Okay.
How many things can go right/wrong with a Molotov cocktail in a street fight? This game has so many things that I didn't even think of, that I'm sure that, like I said, I could do 7 playthroughs and 4 of them be completely different.
Right. I agree. And to your point, I didn't think of that. It was me watching you play Prey while I was starting to learn that environment for that game and how to wiggle physics around. Yeah. There's a lot of, I lost my train of thought, but like, there's things going on that it's fun to see other people do and learn from their experience as well. Like, we did have very different playthroughs, not too different this time, but I'm sure they're going to get more yo-yo-y if we play again and compare notes again. I hope so.
Absolutely. And like I said, I'll push you to cover it again in a couple of months. Maybe we won't do a podcast on it, but we'll definitely play it in our private time, because this game is something definitely worth revisiting. And you and the audience, if you consider it, pick it up when it's on sale, or if you like the developers, fucking just buy it at full price. Who cares? It's a great game and you won't regret it. It's a fucking fantastic time.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever more than $29.99, and it's absolutely worth the $30, but you will catch it for half that. If not $9.99.
Yeah, I think I could get it for $10.
It's well worth every penny. But yeah, I think it was on sale when I mentioned it to you, and it was like, oh, go ahead, grab that. And it was brought to my attention. There's a Fallout YouTuber, goes by Oxhorn. He's like semi-infamous in the scene, but he plays scary games on Thursday night or whatever. It's like, just Thursdays or whatever rando game that he picks. And I watched the first 10 minutes, like watching him go through getting the tie and all of that. I was like, I got to play this myself. I shut it off and close that off. And everybody else has played it now. So now I feel like I can go and do it myself without having to be worried about being spoiled, except by YouTube, like you mentioned.
Some of those games, yeah, you just take one look at it and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. I've seen it. I've seen enough, and that's it. I see it. I don't know what I'm seeing, but it's it.
Right, and that's what it was. It started with the art style, and then the way the dialogue tree was on the side. Like, it's just a constant scroll of text, and you're right. And so I'm watching it happen, but I'm reading what's really happening. So that was like, I want to see where this goes, especially waking up as a amnesiac drunk. Like, I didn't even know he was a cop at that point. And I was like, all right. So it sends you off into this world. And that's same with, I almost said Spacer's Choice, but you know what I mean. The Outer Worlds, it kind of just, here you go. You get that little tutorial of how to shoot and how to walk around. And the first town is a tutorial town, but you don't have to pay attention to that. You can literally just go off anywhere else and do whatever you want. And for the most part, complete that game. Same with this. You start out, you're on a path, but it branches out in so many directions. You don't know where it's going to end up along the way. And I think that's remarkable, to use a overly used word.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and get your plugs in and let people know where they can find you and what you've been up to and what you're going to be up to.
Well, it's right in the title, at Spurgsnake here on YouTube and on Twitter, X, whichever you like to prefer to call. Mondays between 9 and midnight are game show game nights. It's like trying to keep it family or not family or the idea is to get inebriated and then shout the wrong answers and have fun trying to play Family Feud or Wheel of Fortune. Categories was this past week. So that's every Monday between 9 and midnight. Usually 10 to midnight is the most common times. And I'm trying to work something out with you. I want to get a Fortnite night going, but I have not really pushed anything, and not to put you on the spot here.
Oh, no, we'll figure it out. Fortnite night sounds good.
Yeah.
That game's a lot of fun, and we enjoy it, and
it's your
maybe
fault.
We can get some random viewers in there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would love to play with some, just whoever wants to jump in and play. Yeah, I'm loving it too much. I really do like Fortnite. That's your fault. I played some solos yesterday, and I didn't do too bad. I was actually, not getting run over by everybody.
I don't think I've won a single solo the last 2 seasons, but I still like playing them.
Yeah, I gotta earn my V-Bucks so I can make sure I pay for my next Battle Pass.
All right, I want to thank you one more time for joining. There is no episode planned after this. I kind of want to do Avowed. I definitely want to do Cyberpunk, and I've been talking about Mondays doing that for like the last 2 years, so I really need to get on that. We're going to figure it out. might take a month break. I don't know. I will update everyone on socials and here on the YouTube channel in the community section. I want to thank everyone for joining, and until then, we'll see you next time.